Angier.
Oh, actually, yep, there he is. Sorry. Thank you, Chris.
Good evening and welcome commissioners, applicants, and interested parties to the November 21st, 2024 meeting of the Cohasset Conservation Commission. My name is Chris McIntyre. I'm the Vice Chair of the Cohasset Conservation Commission. I'll be running tonight's meeting as we implement the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Chapter 260 of the Cohasset bylaws governing wetlands protection and Chapter 263 of the Cohasset bylaws governing stormwater management. The Cohasset Conservation Commission is now open and now in session, and we will be holding this on a Zoom. If you have any questions for the commission, put them in the Q&A section of the Zoom application. Please include your name, address, as well to be recognized. When called, please limit your discussion to 3 minutes. Present this evening on behalf of the Conservation Commission is the town's conservation agent, Charlotte Techtel. I will now take a roll call vote of Conservation Commissioners. Please respond by repeating your name and saying present. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, present.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, present.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, present.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanji Fernando, present.
Chris McIntyre, present, and Valerio Romano is not present tonight. We have a quorum of 5 commissioners. Continued hearings tonight include enforcement order for 34 Flintlock Road for wetlands alterations be continued to December 5th. Our first public hearing is notice of intent 24-33 for the addition of a hot tub screen porch and a screen porch at 42 Smith Place. Cheryl, is there anyone from the applicant side to promote for this?
Yes. 1 second. We have them coming through now. Hi, Caroline.
Good evening. Hello. For the record, my name is Caroline Reese of Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. I'm representing the homeowners and applicants, Ms. Corinne Cassell and Mr. James Mitterando. I believe they're listening in. They are owners of the property at 42 Smith Place, a single-family home. And we are presenting a notice of intent application to expand the footprint of their dwelling, which lies, and the work lies within the 50 and 100-foot buffer, or between the 50 and 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands. And may I share the screen? I should have asked. Sorry. Let me get that going. Thank you. Okay. Looks like, can everyone see the site plan okay?
Yes.
Thank you. First, I'll zoom in on the existing conditions. Here's the lot. It is bound by Smith Place to the north and private residential properties on the remaining sides. South River Environmental flagged bordering vegetated wetlands represented by this blue line on the rear yard. In the rear yard, southern boundary. It's separated from most of the developed lot. This is lawn in the rear by a fence and kind of a little pathway here. So it is separated from the property. And the lot currently consists of a dwelling with a rear deck, some hardscape, and a detached shed primarily. And the owners propose to expand the footprint of the dwelling to the east. So you can see here, it's shaded in gray. The front paved driveway will be reconfigured to align with the attached driveway. And this work, also the rear deck will be expanded out over lawn. A hot tub will be added. This work increases the impervious area between the 100 and 50-foot buffer by approximately 580 square feet. The distance to the bordering vegetated wetlands decreases slightly. It was 59.1 feet from the structure, that concrete pad. It's now 54.8. As mitigation, they propose 1-to-1 native plantings along the eastern border and the southern, wrapping around the southern border here until it reaches, I think it's a black walnut tree here. And let's see, stormwater, administrative stormwater application was also submitted and is under review. Just as an update, this information came in late, but we got test pit data on November 18th. Here's the proposed infiltration system. We found the groundwater to be slightly higher than 5 feet, about 4 feet. So what we did, I can show you that plan if that's permitted as, I don't know, as a presentation piece. But originally we had the infiltration system spanning 18 inches and there's perforated pipe storage inside. We had to narrow the thickness to 1 foot. And we were able to do that and not change the footprint of the infiltration system by adding, doubling the amount of perforated pipes for storage inside. So we made a slight adjustment that I believe is probably de minimis for the notice of intent portion because this footprint stays the same. We do propose a silt sock around the limit of the construction structural work, and then another one around the mitigation plantings during the planting period. And we've also submitted a variance request for plantings within the 50-foot buffer. No trees are proposed for removal. The infiltration system's situated as such because the owners really want to preserve this tree here. And we're trying to provide adequate room. The shed's kind of a elevated structure, no foundation. So I think we can get pretty close to it, a small structure. And we have a DEP number. And with that, I'll open it to questions.
Commissioners?
I don't know.
You mentioned this mitigation inside the 50 is a 1-to-1. What can you explain what you're getting the what you're using the alteration in the 100?
Correct, for the increase in impervious area, a 1-to-1. So trying to kind of fortify the buffer to the resource area, staying within the property. There are plants here and there'd be in between the plants conservation meadow mix that will not be mowed as proposed.
In that's currently lawn?
Correct, yes. You know, it's all mowed lawn down to this fence here.
And the proposed plants in that area are, did you say grass mix or there's shrubs?
There's shrubs here, let me count them, about 15, 21 shrubs, native shrubs, and then conservation grass seed in between.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Just
Of course.
so we're increasing pervious in the 100 by 580, and the net is to recover 580 in the 50.
Correct. Increasing impervious, yes, that's correct.
And I apologize, like
Sure.
I thought we would do like 2-to-1 trades in that kind of, like when we go into the 50. I might be wrong. Like, you know, it just feels like we're trading at 100. Like when I've seen it before, it's like trading within the 100, it was 1-to-1, but like we were at a higher percentage when we were trading inside the 50. But
Sure.
I don't know if that's
to clarify. Oh, I'm sorry. To clarify, all the proposed work is outside of the 50. It's within the 50 to 100. However, not all, but most of the mitigation plantings are proposed within the 50. We feel like that's maybe preferable to add a natural buffer over lawn in the 50, but all the proposed work, this is the 50-foot buffer, is outside. So therefore, we're doing the 1-to-1 recommendation. under the theory that maybe native plantings are preferred closer to the resource area and just trying to create this buffer before you get too close along the fence. So if we were proposing work in the 50, I typically propose 2-to-1 plantings, but the work's outside of the 50, just the plantings are in the 50, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want to, I want to just ask this as a question, like, would they be interested in going larger in the 50? Since we're in the 50 anyway, like, or aesthetically, is that not on the table for you guys, or?
I could speak to the homeowners. I believe we're kind of meeting the criteria. I mean, they are replacing a lot of lawn right now. I also heard, I'm not great with my plants. I think they said up to a black maple, is that it? That things don't grow near it anyway. So, I mean, these plants, we could move them somewhat, but,
Caroline, I think it was an RDA that was submitted a few years ago, and I don't think the original or the previous homeowner ever did it, but there was a black walnut tree. I think if you
That's
zoom
it.
in, it's right at the edge of where you're
Correct.
putting the planting
That's
on
it.
the western side. Yeah,
Right.
so there's a black walnut tree there that someone had initially submitted an RDA to take it down, but then they moved, and I don't think they ever did it, so.
That was it. I'm sorry.
It seems like there's a fence that exists within the 50-foot buffer. Is that correct?
Correct.
You know, we really like to see the elimination of fences in the 50 for enhanced wildlife passage.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking part of your mitigation might be to remove that fence.
I could pose it to the homeowners. I believe I'd ask them, it's a fence that runs the corridor along neighboring properties. So I don't know if the Mitterandos or Casells could speak to that or their idea on the fence. I believe I was out there, it kind of continues on, so I don't know. And that kind of separates the lawn from the area of growth. I do believe it comes the other way. We don't show it in our survey, but
So where is the fence? Is it along that southeastern area that you're going to mitigate right there? That
exactly. It kind of bends for some reason. It kind of works. And then I believe it comes up, goes off property. I believe it extends straight. I could pull
Yeah,
up some
plus or
pictures.
minus, it goes a little bit in front of where the intermittent stream and limit of the BVW are. It's like there's a small space in between where the resource area is, and then there's usually like, depending on the property, like either wild vegetation or strips of grass, and then the fence is placed in front of that, and it does span, I don't know exactly how many properties, but it's the 3 properties that are roughly shown on the plan here at the least. So it is a continuous fence line.
It does show 2 gates on the west side there. One that is almost in the wetland, the gate,
Mhm.
and the other one is certainly within the 50-foot buffer. So if there's a gate there at that one there, the northernmost gate, it seems to suggest there's another fence here. Why would there be a gate if there isn't a fence? Or is that gate crossing from one yard to another?
I'm sorry, I see. Is this the gate where my cursor is?
No. There's 2 gates on the west side, Carolyn. West.
Okay, let me
west.
come on over. Let me go to the existing.
It was visible.
Oh, okay.
Go
Yeah.
back. There you go. There's one, and then there's another one north of it.
North of it, a gate.
North.
On the property line.
I know. Up here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was looking way down
Yeah,
down here
sure.
near the wetlands.
Yeah. So obviously, if there's another gate, is that gate pass from the applicant's yard to their neighbor, or is there another fence in this yard? Another one that crosses their yard?
Oh, I believe that's the fence that runs up between the 2 properties.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. I'm
Good.
sorry. I was looking up high. Yeah.
And that other gate looks like it's set up to access the back of their own property.
Correct.
Oh, there's another gate there too. See, you just passed over one gate.
That says brick. That's brick. It's kind of a loose,
Well, it says gate right below your cursor.
right, correct, that gate.
Yes,
That gate provides access to the back.
yeah, and then there's another one to the west, the first one that you found.
Over here.
Yeah, the leader goes actually down to, by the looks of it, follow the leader. There's a leader from that call out, not that call out, the gate, follow the leader.
There's, let me zoom in.
There, you just passed over it.
Oh, this leader, okay.
Yeah.
Those are bushes? I don't see a gate there.
I don't know, but it looks like there's two gates that go through the fence into the, one would go into the wetland, the resource itself, and the other one would be in the 50-foot buffer.
I don't see a gate over here. I see the two up
There's
here.
a call out for it, and there's a leader from it.
And
Right
then,
where the 70 is probably where it's located. That's where the leader seems to end.
and
We have a picture here, in the backyard.
maybe I should pull up some pictures, or I know that's like kind of a landscaped area that I can't see.
Yeah.
Would you like me to pull up pictures?
Before we jump to that, I just wanted to ask one question while we're on this page. So
Sure.
where your proposed mitigation is, if you zoom over to the,
Sure.
yeah, what is preventing additional plantings on the southern side of the fence closer to the, infilling? Would it be feasible to kind of beef up the vegetation in that zone there?
Sure, with some wild grasses or something, I'm sure we could.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems.
Seems like a place that's probably.
There are
pretty
some shrubs and such in here, but we could. I
Mhm.
mean, I was trying to keep the work kind of within the fenced-in area, but close, but I know there's a lot of grass and shrubbery back here. It could maybe be beefed up a little bit.
Well, if it's already.
Commissioner Bell's point, I mean, it's, the purpose of it, there's many purposes, but I mean, for it to be, I think, maximizing its potential, and if it's already wilded and well vegetated, we wouldn't want you going and
Yeah,
ripping it apart and to plant
lines
stuff.
here,
If
right.
it's not clear to me if it could be added to, it'd be, I'm in favor of anything along the riparian area to add vegetation where possible.
It is a vegetated area. I think it would, I mean, I looked at it down to where it gets thicker vegetation. So I'm not sure how much there is native or not. It would be probably pulling up grasses or plants there. I figured
Cheryl,
along,
remind me, when we had that RDA for the black walnut, wasn't there some photos and didn't we
Yeah,
say
I
we
can
could
pull those up actually.
go over there and mow it on the other side of the fence?
So while you're doing it, the area that you are going to mitigate looks highly curated. Maybe it's just because of your symbology for AutoCAD. When we talk about native plants,
mhm,
we like to see something that is not curated,
mhm.
something that is random, that really does start to look wild. So we're looking for variety. We're looking for random distribution.
Mm-hmm. That is my AutoCAD sketch. I mean, if this were to be approved, we could kind of go over the placement with Charlotte. We picked a variety of plants, and then with the grass seed, not to mow or mulch, obviously, in between the plants, but that was kind of just trying to create a fortified perimeter along the fence, removing lawn within the 50 to kind of provide a barrier. But we could work on the placements of those plants if that was something if we're gonna approve as a condition of approval.
Caroline, I can pull up a couple photos from.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I apologize. I wanted to make it out yesterday or today, but it's just been really crazy before the holidays, so I apologize.
A question?
Sure.
The plan looked like it said brick there along that fencing, but as the picture that just came up shows, it's just a chain link fence. There's no reason why that couldn't be removed.
There is, well, as I said, the chain link fence extends down the corridor, so, and there's the second fence up the abutters. There it looks like grass. What I saw was much more overgrown. I don't know when these pictures are.
Yeah,
But,
these were 2 years ago, and I think the previous owner may or may not have mowed back there. So if, probably hasn't been mowed in a while, I'd imagine, but this is what it looked like a few years ago. And this is the black walnut tree that originally was proposed to be taken out, but it was never taken out.
Mhm.
Yeah, mostly grass.
Yeah, so back to Commissioner McIntyre's point,
Yeah.
if this is really a monoculture of grass in the 50-foot buffer, of course, we'd like to see that wilded. So maybe you're doing your mitigation planting sort of in the, not, I wouldn't call it the wrong place, but there might
Sure.
be a more strategic location for this.
Sure, I am sure we could.
Would we,
Work with the
maybe we
wetland.
could even like say like there's a 1.5 trade here and like you make, so that'd be about 870, but if it is like this for the monoculture, maybe there could be some mitigation planting in the riparian zone to bring it back to a native landscape.
Yeah,
Sure.
and this, if the intent is not to continue to mow this, I would also mention that
Mhm.
if you do let it go to nature, it's gonna be infested with invasive plants, whereas if you get ahead of those and plant natives, and you may be able to,
Mhm.
ward some of that off.
Sure, I just got a message from the homeowners. They never mow back there. It does look different in these pictures than I thought, but they're happy to plant wildflowers or just some wild plantings back there. And ideally, they'd like to keep the fence, but and it does extend, but if we could maybe offer some mitigation back here. I don't think, my impression is it doesn't look as mowed and kept as it was back then, but they're happy to
Well, I
work
think
with the agent to plant some, another 1.5 to 1, some native seed mix back there.
Well, I think Commissioner McIntyre noted, like, if it has rewilded, like, there's no sense in us tromping through there.
Right.
Unless it's rewilded by invasive species. And if there's still a chance of driving them out and replacing them with natives, then it might be useful. But if it's come back with native species and there's not a problem with invasives, then yeah, leave it alone.
Couple trees would go a long way towards, I think, making us happy and potentially, serving that purpose.
To me, it looked like there's some grass back there. The owners never mow or go beyond that fence, that maybe there could be some native plantings, maybe if it could possibly be a condition of approval, if the commission was to go that way, to work with the agent to kind of maybe spec out another 300 square feet of maybe wild plantings if it fits on that side of the plant fence, or
That seems reasonable.
does just to get a good idea. I'm not great at identifying my plants and grasses, and it's maybe there is, maybe some areas there that could be done.
Yeah, I think strategically, it makes more sense to do your mitigation closer to the wetland.
Mm-hmm, sure. I was trying to really not mess with that area and create another buffer within their lawn area. But I
We'll
see.
take that too. I mean, we'll take that too. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, we'll take the 580. I think we're just trying to get
Sure.
300 more in the closer to the repairing area.
Could we make I think that if we could make that a condition of approval to work with the agent to find areas, ideally out here, and if not, you know, maybe somewhere along the fence for some additional wild plantings.
Yeah, and I'll say again, I think if you can get a couple trees in there, that'll limit the
Trees?
need for upkeep.
Correct, yeah,
They'll kind
sure.
of grow and shade out that area, and that would be, you know, less, you wouldn't have to worry about, I don't think, and I'm not a specialist in the field, but I think if you can get a couple trees going in there, that tends to do a pretty good job of shading out the.
Sure. Great,
Since-
great. I think the homeowners are amenable to that if that would be work.
Okay. Kathy or Steve, any comments?
It seemed to me that just by taking the area that she's currently shown as mitigating and moving it to the other side of the fence and filling in the area that's behind the fence, probably be better for the backyard and better for the area along the wetland. Rather than, you know, I mean, that's probably would, that just my opinion would be a better way of doing it would be if they're going to leave the fence up. I assume the fence was up there for a reason. I think that perhaps you know, looking at some of the earlier pictures of it, it looked like there were children in the yard before. So I suspect that's why because there was a big play set. So it could have been that was the original reason for just a chain link fence.
Mhm. Would it be reasonable if we propose 880 square feet minimum of native plantings? And again, I go back to a condition of approval, but if that could be worked out, trying to get them as close as we can to the wetland, maybe on either side of the fence, emphasizing the other side of the fence, if that be something that they work out with the agent, is that appropriate? Because I just don't, as you said, I don't know how much would be tearing out back here. I don't know if this area could support an additional 300 square feet or not. I'm sure it could support some trees, but I don't want to rip out or suggest, you know, they remove any plantings that work.
As one commissioner, I would say, yeah, I'd be amenable to that if that square footage with a couple trees, that would seem like a good effort towards you know, restoring that area.
I'd feel the same way.
Sure.
So Charlotte, are you comfortable with going out and working out how this is going to go down on the ground?
Yeah, I should ask.
You're muted.
Charlotte.
Oh, hey, Charlotte, I think you're muted.
Charlotte, you're muted.
Sorry, I was typing, but I did type out a couple conditions roughly, so let me just pull that up real quick. So I think, I'm sorry, was the total to increase it to approximately 800 square feet? Was that the
880.
880?
880.
880? Okay.
Okay.
So do commissioners like this language that the applicant shall work with the agent to increase the mitigation area to approximately 880 square feet plus or minus within the 50-foot buffer closer to the BVW and intermittent stream beyond the existing fence to install additional native seed mix and or a variety of native trees, shrubs, perennials, and reduce the coverage of existing lawn at the edge of the resource areas. Erosion controls in front of the resource areas may be installed at the direction of the agent to prevent erosion sedimentation. And then just, I'm sure for a hot tub, this won't happen, but just to keep to our standard with pools, you know, just to not drain or dispose of water within the 50-foot buffer or drain it into the resource areas. And then the hot tub water only drained in accordance with all conditions specified in number 52 of our template. It's a bunch of guidance that's already included in our special conditions templates, just kind of emphasizing that for the hot tub, although I doubt it'll be an issue because it's not a big pool, but just to be consistent. Does that sound okay to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, it'll be
Yes.
with our normal special conditions of like, you know,
Yes, yes, so our
Fertilizer.
regular template. Yeah, and then this is in addition to the regular template.
Yeah.
And then I'll just leave a quick note because obviously it didn't require a public hearing, but if commissioners have any comments on the administrative stormwater permit, just send those to me privately and well, you know, I'll pass them along to Caroline. But
Sure, it
Yeah.
you know, it makes a lot of sense to be mitigating as close to the wetland as possible. And to do this mitigation and then have lawn in between the
Yeah, no,
wetland and the mitigation, it makes that mitigation an island rather than enhancing the buffer.
certainly. I did know that the homeowners do not go back here. They don't mow back here. They haven't ever. So that's why I kind of
Yeah.
let it be. It may be all native, but we'll certainly look into that.
Yeah, get a lot of annual and perennial wildflowers in there, and they're gonna love it.
They will. They will. They're saying that. I think so.
Great. Any other comments from commissioners?
No.
Any comments? No comments from the
I don't see any comments.
all right then. Does anyone care to make a motion?
I move to issue an order of conditions for NOI 2433, 42 Smith Place, with the conditions that are established here on the screen and will be entered into our meeting minutes.
A motion to approve and with the conditions Charlotte has described. Second that.
Okay,
With that, I'll take a roll call vote of the commissioners. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
Chris McIntyre, aye. That passes then 5-0-0. And this
I make a second motion to issue a variance for work within the 50-foot buffer.
oh, thank you. I second that as well. Take a roll call vote for that. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
and Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0. And anything else, Charlotte? For
Nope, unless, you know, and then, like I said, if commissioners have any comments on the administrative stormwater permit, submission, just let me know separately.
all right, thank you. With that, NOI 2433 is now closed. Thank you, Ms. Reese. Carol,
Thank you.
Charlotte will follow up on the plantings.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks for
Thanks,
working.
guys.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Our next public hearing is for NOI 24-32 and stormwater permit 24-30 for addition of a pool house screen and a screen porch and some walls at 62 Whitehead Road. Charlotte, is anyone to promote, please?
Hi, Jeff. I don't see the applicants, but if they put, oh, I think I see Sean. There we go.
Yep. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Jeff
evening.
Astor here with Morse Engineering, and joining me is Sean Papich. So this is an NOI and a stormwater permit for a pool project at 62 Whitehead Road, which I will share with you, bring up. So this is the site plan for the property. So the owners of the property are Catherine and Nick Beavers. Sean is the landscape architect, and Patrick Ahern is the architect. So this property is 1.5 acres. Whitehead Road is on the bottom of the page or to the south. There's a shared driveway that goes along the left property line, and that wraps around to an attached garage here and then goes beyond to 68 Whitehead Road. So it's a shared driveway. The house itself sits right here. It was built in 1928. And we filed 2 notice of intents on this property recently. The first one was to add the garage and the driveway. That was a few years back. And then just a couple of years ago, there was a project where they regraded this front yard and landscaped it, and that's the project area for this project. For the previous two projects, the wetlands were filed by Brad Holmes. He did so for this project as well, and he ended up writing a letter stating that the wetlands have not changed since the last time we were in front of you. And the proposed work is, it's all within the existing lawn and maintained area in the front yard. And with the exception of some minor work that I'll describe, the work is outside of the 50-foot buffer. So the wetlands are in blue on either side of the site, and the 50-foot buffers are in red coming in on either side. The proposed work, I'll zoom in on this a little bit. So the work is an 18 by 44 swimming pool. They also have a pool house, which is 16 by 27.5. And the grade in this area is going to be elevated. So there are going to be two walls here and here to bring up that grade. And the benefit of that is that it gets the pool elevation up closer to the deck elevation, to the main floor. But it also, this area is all ledge. So it makes all the work above the ledge. So there won't be any ledge removal for this project. And the last part of the project is they currently have a screen porch, which is, an existing deck. That's all of this area. And a portion of that, about half of it, is going to be replaced with a screen porch. So within the footprint of the deck. So the only work within the 50-foot buffer is that deck goes 1 foot into the 50-foot buffer, and they're putting new piers in. So those will be pinned to the ledge, and they're as close as 49 feet to the wetland. No excavating for that, just putting piers pinned to the ledge. Secondly, we're keeping the walls outside of the 50-foot buffer in this corner, but extending the limit of work 4 feet into the 50-foot buffer just to have be able to get around that corner during while they're doing the work. But that's currently lawn area, and it'll be replanted with native shrubs. So that'll be a net improvement. And then the third and last item in the 50-foot buffer is a new utility pole right here. It's 5 feet into the 50-foot buffer. The only reason we're putting it there is that otherwise it's going to be out in the yard as opposed to along the tree line. And it really shouldn't have any adverse impact. Again, it's in the lawn area. So I'll show you next. Plantings, there are 2 oak trees that will be removed, and one of them is damaged to begin with. And then there are also 6 maple trees that were planted 2 years ago under that last NOI, and those will be transplanted, replanted in this area. And so I'm going to go up, share with you. This is a picture of the project area. So the pool's going in this area. There'll be 2 walls, kind of horseshoed in there to pick the grade up, and plantings along the base of it. Kind of jumping around here. All the stormwater is going to recharge system underground here. So that's going to collect the roof runoff, and there'll be drains within the patio, which the patio is specified to be pervious, but there'll also be drains. So all that runoff will go to that subsurface system. And then Sean prepared, these are the same plans that we presented to you, but we added color. So this is just kind of giving you an overview of the layout. And then we also added color to the section that we provided, showing that this area is all ledge. The pool will be above the ledge with 2 walls picking up the grade with plantings in between. Those walls will be concrete with a natural stone veneer. And, we've designed this project in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, with your stormwater bylaws, and with the exception of the 3 minor pieces of work in the 50-foot buffer, in accordance with the Cohasset wetland regulations. All the work is again within developed areas, and there'll be an increase of native trees planted, and the entire limit of work will have an erosion control around it. So with that, unless Sean has something to add, I'll pass it back to you and we can answer questions.
I don't know that I have much else to add, Jeff, on that. You've already kind of shown the plans in current state of which it's lawn and ledge right now. So we feel pretty good about its location and trying to keep it as close to the residents as possible. And that's really the intent, so that it doesn't go down the hill and further really getting closer to the resource. That's it. Certainly.
Could you go
answer-
through the planting list? I see the over in the corner there. Could you?
Yep. Yeah, there's planting lists there. So, Chris, what we propose to do is, in addition to planting the red maples that are there now, our intention is to add the plants that we show on the plan. Essentially, some American holly, some arborvitae, a tupelo tree out in the yard also, and then all of the beds that we're illustrating the circles there with. You see inkberry, winterberry, viburnum, and then also using switchgrass. They're still, in this case, they're kind of elevated planters. Tom, you had mentioned about the variety, a little more variety among a composition. Because these are elevated planters, we didn't really give it a tremendous amount of variety in those particular planters. But that's the plant list that we're illustrating right now.
And is it correct reading this, like right now, there's lawn in the 50-foot buffer right now? Is that right?
That's correct. Lawn and ledge essentially is where it is now.
Yeah,
the
so
lawn-
the 50-foot buffer is here, and the lawn extends well into the 50-foot buffer here.
And what's the increase in impervious in the 100-foot?
So the increase is, the total increase is 1,585 square feet. And that's made up of the swimming pool and the roof. Just about all of that is between the 50 and the 100.
I'm sorry, that number again was 1,500?
Yeah, 1,585.
Well, Jeff, you heard what we had to say about the last applicant in terms of enhancing the 50-foot buffer. And all of these mitigation plantings are out in areas that are outside of the buffer, or no, within the 100-foot buffer, and some of them are outside of the buffers altogether. And again, this looks like an opportunity to enhance the buffer zone here, first of all. Secondly, could you put the cross section up again, please, through the pool? Yeah. What's the elevation change there? You've got a pretty good sized volume, so you're gonna fill this, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of fill coming in.
So yeah, just wondering. I mean, this is sort of maybe out there, but looks like there might be an opportunity for a cistern here to collect their water and do irrigation, unless they're already on a well. That could save them an awful lot of money. It's easy to do when you're doing this, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, there may also be an opportunity for a ground source heat pump here. Again, the cost of putting in these systems is high if you aren't excavating, but when you're doing something like this looks like an opportunity to, at least bring it up to your client to say that, have it evaluated and see whether it makes sense for them to move to heat pumps, at least in part of the area. Maybe even heat their pool. I don't know.
Yeah. We haven't gotten into it that far, but I think it should be something that should be looked at or considered.
Yeah. So to go back to the mitigation, I think I would prefer to see that mitigation take place on the existing lawn within the 50.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I was a little confused by like the plantings. Are they mitigations or just simply landscaping? Like
They're not technically mitigations. I don't know that it's that by the rule there's mitigation required. Jeff can clue me in on that, but they're essentially native plants. I don't technically know if we would refer to them as mitigation. That might be a semantics question when we call them mitigation. So you might have to clarify that for me or let me know.
Yeah, I would agree. We're not providing the plantings really as mitigation. We're certainly trying to provide more native plantings than exist now, but I wouldn't call it mitigation.
Yeah.
We typically don't provide mitigation for work outside of the 50-foot buffer, but I see the comment, and in this case, I see some areas where we could definitely provide some bushes right along the tree line.
Yep, I think along that tree line, if we did some plantings there, that there would be a positive move there if we were to do something along that tree line that's down the hill. That is all lawn in that area, so it's to the, call it to the east of the pool area. There's a fair amount of lawn that runs along that wooded edge. We have to keep it on our property. You can see where the property ends there. So we would have to keep it on our property. There's a little sliver of ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
We
but,
can't really propose, under this NOI, we can't really propose work on someone else's property.
but as you get down lower, further to the south on the property,
Probably in this
enhancing
area.
a drift, drift into there that wraps around those trees and comes to the front of the property could be a nice move. I think
Yeah,
it could be
absolutely.
the spot where we tie into it. And then maybe something to the north there where it is along the side of the, or even just along the side of the retaining wall on the right-hand side on the east.
Oh, in this corner.
Yeah, whereas we, or as
Yeah.
we go up higher, Jeff, on the right-hand side there, where
Oh,
where we get back
yeah,
into,
through
and
this
we also,
area.
yeah, we also get back into where that wooded area comes back onto the property. You can see the squiggle there, and there might be an opportunity there too, Tom. And Chris.
It's interesting, the assessor's map does not show that property line on the east side there.
I believe it was probably, I think that property was split, Tom, when that house behind there was built.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
believe that's that sliver of property from that house behind.
It
Yeah.
was.
I'm
That was
not
a number of
mistaken.
years ago. I would think GIS would have the updated
Well,
line.
you know, I'm probably using something that's just a little bit out of date for our
It isn't.
overlay.
It isn't a funny spot, Tom. It's kind of,
I
Yeah.
probably had to upgrade our, there's been enough property changes since this was last published, so I probably ought to upgrade our overlay for near map, so we have the appropriate property lines. Yeah, so I say, yeah, obviously you're not gonna, you can't go down and plant on somebody else's property, so that.
but the south there, the south part of the property, which is toward the, what you'd call maybe the front of the property, might offer up a piece there. There's some landscaping already down there. There's already some beds that we could kind of extend out and wrap around in that southeast corner.
Yeah.
There might be an opportunity to do something there. if that
Yeah,
makes
Sean,
sense.
I just had a quick question. So the landscaping bed that needs to get taken out for the construction entrance, would that be put back? Because I didn't see it on the landscaping plan, or is that going to be completely taken out?
No, we would still have the bed. We would still
Got it.
put a bed back there.
Yeah, so you put it back. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Looks like then there's some opportunity to expand it. Other commissioners, any questions, comments?
No.
All right, so with that,
Oh, Mr. Chair, we do have a hand raised in the audience. And then I can confirm her address, but Millie Thayer of 35 Whitehead says, I have some questions as an abutter. Can I speak?
yeah, fine by me.
Okay. I'll promote her.
Hi, can you
Millie.
hear?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a co-owner with my sister of 35 Whitehead Road and 75 Whitehead Road, which includes the stretch of land along the beach on the channel, which lies, I believe, to the east of this property across Whitehead Road. And I have a couple of concerns that, most likely you've already thought of, but I just want to raise them. One is, the most important one is the likelihood of any disturbance to the wetland that lies on below this property to the east, but before you get to Whitehead Road, which I believe, my understanding was always that that wetland belonged to this property. I can't tell what all the lines on the map are. But in any case, no matter who it belongs to, if I always get worried when I hear about, you know, major construction and underwater stormwater systems, that it might somehow affect that wetland, because it used to regularly flood across the road onto our land. And eventually a pipe was built that runs from the wetland on this property, I believe, under the road out to the channel. And that regularly, it takes some of the water out, but it also regularly gets blocked, which requires someone to clean it out every couple of years. So it's kind of a fragile system we have going there, and I would really not like to either see the wetland disturbed or for any additional flooding to occur that could affect our land or anyone else's land across the road. So I'll just say my other concern, which is much, you know, simpler, which is just during construction, Whitehead Road is a narrow road, easily eroded on the sides, and I would just ask that there not be any construction parking along Whitehead Road, you know, because again, that would affect our property across the road if trucks were parked there. And also just the possibility of neighbors being able to get back and forth.
And Mr. Chair, just to quickly add to that, I do agree with putting that in as a potential condition, just because with the this property's history of construction, I did witness that a few years ago, that vehicles were parking and staging temporarily on Whitehead Road, at least to a certain degree. So it did result in a little bit of disturbance to that 50-foot buffer close to the wetland. So I have some potential conditions for that, which we may or may not discuss tonight if we want a continuance, but just wanted to note that as well, that I would recommend that. And we can work with Millie as well, obviously, if anything needs to go on her property, but I would put it obviously at the edge of Whitehead Road if we have to, so.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Thayer. Please state again what properties you're referring to. Did I hear 75 Whitehead or?
35 Whitehead Road is closer to Atlantic Avenue, and it includes the land that is directly across from this property on the channel side. And then we also own 75 Whitehead Road, which includes a lot on the side of the road that this property is on. It's down near the corner where the driveway to 100 Whitehead Road goes off. And it's part of the wetland that I'm referring to, but it's not in the immediate area of the construction.
I see them. Thank you. Jeff, do you care to speak to the potential wetland impacts from this project?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so all of this work is located in the lawn area of this property. There won't be any work disturbing the wetlands themselves, nor the culverts or any of the piping. Those are large wetlands with very large watersheds. There's numerous properties that contribute water to those wetlands. In this small area where the project is being proposed, we've run calculations to show that there'll be less runoff from this project area. And the reason that is that right now the water just runs right off the grass hill across the road, across the driveway, and into the wetlands. After it's redeveloped, the area is going to be flat. It's going to be leveled off with walls. And then, water that lands in the pool, for the most part, will stay in the pool. The patio is going to be pervious, but then there's also going to be drains within the patio and connected to the gutters. And that's going to go to an underground infiltration system. So, this is just one small part of the big watershed, but from this project area, it'll be an improvement, a slight improvement compared to the whole watershed.
And if you
Relative
add
to the
some of the
construction,
additional
though, the
mitigation,
construction vehicles, that makes sense, certainly what you're talking about, and no parking on Whitehead, I would imagine that could be a standard condition.
You-
Sorry about interrupting,
You-
Chris.
Have you laid out an area for materials storage and parking and?
Yeah, so the whole front yard is going to be within the erosion barriers. And there's a pretty good sized level area at the toe of the slope where you.
Hey, Jeff, would it be okay to pull up the site plan just so they can see the limit of work? Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to come in here, and then it really does open up in this area for lay down of materials and parking.
Okay, so that should satisfy Ms. Thayer's concerns about construction parking along Whitehead Road, and obviously Charlotte, is it part of our standard conditions about a washdown platform and?
It's not a part of our template, but we can definitely put that in there. I did have a recommendation to maybe shift the entrance a little bit further up, just so that, you know, you get a little bit more clearing from Whitehead Road, but I have a condition, you know, kind of just suggesting that we can modify it in the field as needed. And then put in any additional erosion control barriers along Whitehead Road, as long as, you know, everyone's okay with it. And I did speak to Ms. Thayer about that, and she was, you know, we talked about that. So that can definitely be stuff to kind of mitigate any potential risk of erosion into the wetlands across the street. And if we have to make the entrance wider, move it up, all the above, you know, I think we can definitely modify that in the field.
So Charlotte, there's a stone pillar right here at the edge of the landscape bed, which
Never
we
mind.
don't want to go into.
Okay.
It'd be nice, you know, we have this limit of work just to stay
Yeah,
out of
you just
the
don't want to go on the
buffer,
50. Yeah,
but this is all, you know, landscaped lawn.
got it.
It would open it up and make it easier to get in and out if you would permit the barrier to go more like that along the lawn, but
Yeah,
we can work with this. This is plenty
Okay.
wide to get in and out.
okay.
It
Yeah, I'll
actually
defer to
lines,
the
as you come
commission
down
then.
Whitehead, it kind of lines up nicely.
Okay, yeah, I'll defer to the commission then, because that'd be more disturbing. 50.
How wide is that entrance?
I think it's 16 feet.
Okay, how many truckloads of fill are you going to bring in here? How many cubic yards?
I'm actually not sure. I haven't done a calculation on that. I
So
can
you
do that.
have some heavy trucks moving up and down Whitehead Road, presumably empty on the way back down, but fully loaded with fill material on the way up. I know in the past that the building inspector has been protecting private ways, which Whitehead Road is a private way. Oh, no, it's a public road. Well,
If it's
even more,
private.
what's that?
I believe it's private.
It says Whitehead Road, public, 8 feet
Yeah,
wide.
it's public. Or no, it's not. Sorry, it's not public.
Okay,
I'll-
well,
I'll-
in any case,
I'll look that up.
in any case, what the commission wouldn't like to see is road damage with heavy trucks and excavators moving up and down the road here without a promise to repair anything. And I know the building inspector has required that. He required it at Ocean Ledge. I don't know whether he's had a heads up about this yet or not, but that's something that you guys ought to be thinking about proactively, I think.
Yeah, if the vehicles stay on the asphalt, you know, Whitehead Road can handle it. And I'm saying that just because there's been so much construction at this property and the abutting properties recently. I guess you'd get into some trouble if, you know, the wheels go off the edge and it starts breaking the edge of the asphalt. It's a good point. I'm not sure the best way to handle that probably through the building inspector.
Yeah, he's the one that has set these requirements in the past, so there's a precedent there.
Okay.
So presumably somebody go out there and inspect the road and catalog any flaws in the road now, and then make sure that they were repaired when it was over. But again, that's his purview.
Okay.
We also have a, I emphasize this for the last project at this property. There is a template condition in our order of conditions, special conditions template that any, damage to the wetlands or buffer zones that happens as a consequence of construction needs to be immediately repaired, restored, vegetated, et cetera. So, I would definitely still recommend a condition about obviously no staging, parking, et cetera, on Whitehead Road to protect the wetland across the street. But in case there is any accidental damage, it is, I would, unless we want a specific condition for it, but I think it's covered under our current template to restore that area, because that's what I did last time. I had the guys put up a barrier and, yeah.
I think given the amount of fill that's gonna come in and the proximity downhill of the wetland, a truck wash would be a good idea in this scenario, to prevent, just mud from caking up on the road as they drive out and running across into the wetland. But I think that, as well as the kind of enhanced mitigation along the 50, would be something I would be looking for.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Chris, to have the washdown area. I think we should have that. When you think of that mitigation area, do you guys have any square footage in mind that you're thinking? I'm looking at the plan down in the area down in that southeast corner. And I didn't.
Looks like they bit a chunk off of the neighbor to the east and kind of made that a grassy area. If that's something that could be turned into mitigation land and then down southerly towards where the truck wash, that would make sense, as it's downstream of anything that would run off towards the wetland.
It looks like it's around 400-ish square feet, but I'm scribbling on my drawing right now down low on the south part of the property, what you were just describing. Right to stay on our property in that area. Thank you. Right in that area. And then I don't know if you were talking about some area up to the upper right. Is that what you're thinking about, Chris, over there to the east, to the right hand side of the swimming pool area? Is that what you were kind of pointing out?
I'm looking at near map, and it's you can see the property line. It's just kind of like a crescent shaped lawn area that undeveloped area.
Probably in here.
Yes.
That's on the other property.
Yeah, we can't propose work over the property line under this NOI.
I don't think we'd be able to require it, but
It's the perfect spot.
there could be, there could be a condition that's like a recommendation to at least reach out to the owners. We can't, I don't think we can require mitigation under this NOI, but if you had some sort of condition about, the applicant shall, contact the owners to at least see if mitigation on that side is possible. But I don't know. That's a little tricky because again, 68 Whitehead was not submitted under this NOI. So
Charlotte, take a look. If you look at where it says existing lawn, right by that crescent shape.
Yeah.
All of those contours to the north of there, it's one massive chunk of ledge that runs all the way up there. If we were to add some more square footage,
put all plantings in there,
from the edge of there, and bring it down a little ways to the right side of the pool.
How about we stop mowing it? That would be that would be good.
Right.
Yeah, even seed mix. Yeah, even seed mix in that area that is, and it doesn't get mowed, right? So that might be a good little pocket to do something like that. And if you don't even mow that, because likely the previous owners were mowing that little circular spot there, Chris. That's what they were mowing. They're maintaining their neighbor's yard. There's what they were doing, right? So if it just doesn't get maintained, we do seed mix on our side. That could be a little pocket there of native grass and forbs. That might be a good way to handle that.
Yeah.
That seems like a nice way to do it. Like, if they agree not to mow on their neighbor's lawn, and let that come back.
If we were to do something like that, that would be a pocket of, you'd end up just kind of inheriting that extra, call it, 30 by 12, about another 360 square feet in that crescent. You might inherit.
Sean, thinking out loud, what if we put a couple of things along that property line to kind of prohibit mowing beyond, and then it would just naturally
A couple of some woody plants. Yeah, some woody plants or something like that. We could,
Yeah.
yeah, we could do that.
That sounds good.
I like that idea.
So I think this would be something that we would look to ask for a continuance just to see what that would look like with some enhancement as you speak with of the
Is there any
plantings.
way we could make that a condition and unless there are other things you're concerned about, could submit a plan to you for approval, planting.
And I think we just provide the square footage of that, 1585.
Yeah. Right. Add some square footage. And use a number there for you.
Other commissioners or thoughts on that? We have any other questions or? Charlotte, thoughts?
I can go either way on that. I mean, we did request a few other things to see on the plan, so I don't know if it makes sense to just put it on for 12.5 unless you want me to type up conditions about just adding it to the plan and submitting it to me prior to any site work.
Yeah. I personally feel like this, I'd like to see it kind of reimagined a bit rather than just coming to an agreement with conditions at this time, but it's just me. Jeff, what's the schedule of this? We have time to push this off if
Well, they are very anxious to get going. They're considering getting this done for next summer, which is ambitious. But I mean, the other two things were the cistern tank, which we can definitely provide. It would just be another tank before you get to the infiltration system. And then I think we can look into the ground source heat pump, but that would still be within the limit of the project, within the walls.
Those are good suggestions. I think those are good ideas, and I think my primary focus is what are they going to do for construction mitigation, seeing where the truck wash is gonna go, and then what additional plantings will be included besides not mowing that piece where will there be added plantings on the southernmost portion of the lawn after this?
So when you talk about the truck washdown, we do have a stabilized construction entrance of stone. Do you mean that'll knock off, clean the tires on the way out, or do you want a separate area for like actually hosing down a vehicle?
I think it just needs to be long enough so that, how long is that?
30 feet long, so.
Yeah, that should be long enough,
Yeah.
it seems to me. So, yeah, as long as you've got pretty coarse stone there, you should be able to capture all of your sediment and most of your water, I would think.
Yeah, 4 to 6 inch stone.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that should be good.
With silt socks
On
Yeah.
either side of it, yep.
Yeah.
Well, do any commissioners have an opinion or care to make a motion?
I thought we were going to continue here.
Well, I think that'd be my preference. Seems like the applicant and Jeff is hesitant to do that. Jeff?
So what are the issues?
Yeah, we'd certainly
what are
like
the
to.
issues that-
Sorry, go
what are
ahead.
the outstanding issues that would require a continuance? It's not clear to me. What?
It's really just the landscaping, the not quote unquote mitigation, added plantings.
Yeah, I think in this case, if we're adding more plantings, I would actually call those mitigation plantings because the original plan, I don't think was intended to be provided as a mitigation plan. It's
We always
more-
try to, we just always try to make an effort well, to plant up our projects pretty well and cut
Yeah.
down on lawn where we can. So it's just as a rule, even if not called mitigation, we think of them as
Yeah.
mitigation. And
No,
then-
I know. I like, it wasn't like
Yeah.
shown, like the previous project where it says mitigation area, it
Yeah,
didn't.
correct. Yep, absolutely. But we also do what we can even to use native plants in an ornamental bed sometimes, even if folks don't know they're native. So we find ourselves trying to do that anyway. So while they technically weren't mitigation, they were native. And if we can, I think it's nice to close it out.
What was the number that we were at for square footage? I think you threw out 400-ish.
I was estimating what I was doing, Sanjeev, was I was estimating what I was scribbling down on a plan. And if you look to the east of the pool in that area that is just to the right of where we have the walls there, that is on their property. My guess on that, just based on what I was reading, is that's probably around maybe 800 square feet there, and I was estimating around 400 square feet down on the south part there, that it was in the neighborhood. So if there's a range you could offer up to us or have it be on condition of working with Charlotte on that, it's only because I haven't put it through the computer yet to tell you exactly what those are for square footage. But if it's just plantings, it feels like we would really appreciate being able to move forward, knowing that we'll send you the plan tomorrow if we have to. If we need to, we could probably get it to you tomorrow.
What if we say 800 on the side, 400 at the discretion of the agent? I think you also proposed like some woody trees along that line.
Yep.
Some
sort of
if we
woody
could put-
plant material.
Can we put a number on that, like 3, 4? What do you think?
I would say like 3 over there that we would have, but I actually think it may not be trees so much as it might end up being some native shrubs, because we feel like when we can get some fruiting from some native shrubs, we feel like we get value out of that. We feel like we can get some real habitat. So a massing of native shrubs within some native grass mix, we think is kind of the sweet spot. We're kind of partial to those. Same thing down in that lower area on the south. We would probably want to go with native grasses and forbs, as well as some of our other native shrubs massed in down there.
Like, Charlotte, can we make those conditions and then set that as a conditional approval with your, sign off?
I would like, oh yes, Charlotte.
Yes, I'm trying to type that out.
Typing while we're speaking.
So I guess are the commissioners mostly just concerned with enhancing both the easterly and westerly sides of the property with mitigation plantings within the, looks like the 100 and the 50 foot on the western side and within the 50 foot on the eastern side?
I think it's the east and the southerly.
East and south, yeah.
Okay, so not the
East here.
side where the pool house is.
No,
Yeah.
because that's all ledge. That's
All
just really all
ledge
ledge here.
there.
We are putting in some trees over there.
Okay,
that's
yeah,
what-
because 2 trees are coming out, so you're putting but
More
I wanted
trees.
to shift, I think one of the commissioners wanted to shift the plantings within, on that side of the property. I think 1 or 2 of them were outside of the 100-foot buffer, so can you
Oh,
put,
yeah, we could move, we could move one of those transplanted
yeah,
red maples over. Yeah, you could slide that over there. That's okay. Could do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I know it's never good to rush things, but I guess I can do it. I just need like 30 seconds.
Maybe if somebody could tell a couple jokes or story or something like that to bide the time.
Yeah, a horse walks into a bar.
There we
Bartender
go.
says, "Why the long face?"
Why the long face eagle? It's always a good one. Always brings a smile to my face, even after all these years.
Okay, I'm almost done, but I can pull up what I have. So I'm just gonna quickly go through the ones I already had. So if the commission, I guess before I go through this, our commissioners, is the consensus we can modify the plans through conditions and not continue to December 5th? Are commissioners in agreement with that? If you guys are.
I think we can do, I
Motion,
think we can
yeah.
do it with conditions.
Okay,
fine.
okay. So, yeah, so permission from all other local approvals boards shall be obtained prior to construction. Any changes to the plans from additional board review shall be submitted to the commission. This is just emphasizing conditions we already have, but we put this for every pool project we've had within the last year, so being consistent. If any of the maple trees proposed to be transplanted do not survive the transplanting process, they shall be replaced at the same caliper size of at least 2.5 to 3 inches in caliper within the buffer zones. Well, this is a little repetitive, but I did say all transplanted maple shall be installed within the 1,500-foot buffer. So I could just say. There. Okay, and then so I guess, are we satisfied with the construction entrance being 30 feet long? We don't need an additional vehicle wash down area within the limit of work, or?
30 feet seems adequate.
Well, I think it would be subject to your kind of evaluation when the work begins. If it's not adequate,
Okay.
then we'll adjust.
Yeah.
it.
I'm actually going to move this condition because I have a section for prior to construction just to make it nice and easy to read. Okay, sorry, moving on. Any pool drainage shall be confined to a truck and not be drained into any land that would drain into a wetland or the 50-foot buffer zone. The applicant shall communicate any offsite drainage locations with surrounding abutters to ensure no adverse drainage. We had this for other pool projects. I don't know necessarily if it's as much of an issue with abutters, but I mean, we can keep it just because, you know, Ms. Thayer's expressed some concerns about at least construction. So, I mean, obviously, we just don't want to see the pool water draining right down the hill in the 50-foot buffer in the wetland. So is this acceptable? Because this is what we've done for other projects.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So we're giving them a choice. Obviously, we're not saying you have to always take it off site. Just don't drain it, obviously, in a way where it's going to shoot right into the wetlands. Pool shall never be drained entirely and only lowered as to the appropriate to prevent spillover. We've done that. I think Sean and Jeff, you've both seen that. Does that sound reasonable?
No, it's reasonable. Yeah.
Okay. And then only drains in accordance with our best management practices as specified in one of our template conditions. Okay, so added the washdown area, and then the contractor should meet with the agent and any interested abutters prior to any site work to confirm or shift the location of the entrance and install any erosion barriers on the southerly side of Whitehead Road to prevent erosion, vehicle damage, and sedimentation into the wetlands across Whitehead Road. Does that sound appropriate?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah, and then the applicants, this is what I was typing, so we can edit this, but the applicant's engineer and landscape architect shall modify the site plan and the planting plan to include an additional 800 square feet of mitigation plantings on the easterly side of the property within the 50-foot buffer and another 400 to 500 square feet plus or minus of mitigation plantings on the southerly side
Southern, yes. So it's
within the 50-foot buffer to remove and reduce existing lawn space and increase native plantings and vegetative cover. Yeah. All planting conservation, so come from the commission's approved planting list.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess I'm not specifying trees or shrubs or anything. Does the commission want to just keep this general, or do we, you know, a variety? Should I specify a variety of trees, shrubs, perennials, grasses, seed mix? Do you want me to be specific?
Well, I think Sean pretty much said what their standard procedure is, and
Yeah.
where they are looking for variety and
yeah, give more variety, definitely in this town.
yeah.
All right. How's that? Other than misspelling perennials, which I do every time. Okay, everyone's good with that. And then, so yeah, during construction, so this was prior to construction, just to group these in, and, you know, eventually I'll redo our whole template so it's nice and easy to read, but for now, this is what we have. So during construction, the following conditions shall be implemented. No construction equipment, vehicles, materials are allowed to be staged, parked, or stored along Whitehead Road, and everything shall be confined to the approved limit of work within the erosion control barriers on the property. Vehicles may utilize the existing property driveway as needed. Does that sound appropriate?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Site dewatering is not allowed as part of this order permit without approval from local, state, federal permitting authorities, just because, again, we're surrounded by wetlands in a sensitive area. We just want to make sure that we aren't going to get stuff into the wetlands. After all storm events, applicant, supervising contractor shall check the site for erosion control barriers immediately, restore any eroded areas. It's a little bit repetitive to what we already have, but figured I'd keep it. And then applicant shall keep construction site clean, removing dirt, dust, debris entirely from the site. If the dumpster is kept on site, shall be covered after each workday. And then inspections at pre-construction before the pool goes in, which we've done for a lot of pool projects now. Stormwater, landscaping, and I'm just going to call it mitigation now that we're adding mitigation plantings. And final. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, sorry. The
That's okay.
between pre-construction and pool installation, I think we want to just get out there and make sure the
Sorry, so another visit.
truck wash is like, there's no runoff, just
Okay.
after
The
after these initial controls are put in place, just to verify that they're adequate. So I don't know.
So wait, sorry. So I guess pre-construction, I'm looking at all the barriers, construction entrance.
So after the construction has started, like just a check-in, early on check-in to verify that the controls are working. Call it a
That was a pretty slick word there, Charlotte. Throwing early construction site inspection.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That's wordsmith. I like it.
Sorry, not to give you more work, Charlotte, but
No, that's fine. Okay. So pretty much before the pool goes in, and then I know this is a little confusing, but basically after blasting, what I've been doing recently for pool projects is when contractors call me, I just go out and look. I have nothing to do with the blasting permit, but just before they start filling in the pool, it's just good to check the site, check erosion controls, especially if you do have to, I don't know if you have to blast for this, but just in case, I mean, it's just been happening so much for pool projects that I usually just go and I look at the hole and I just make sure that there's no erosion or anything around the site, maybe to touch up the barriers just before they start filling everything in. Like, I'm not verifying obviously the pool's depth or anything like that. It's really just a safety check with
Fair.
keeping the site contained.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, we put that in for pools
It
now
makes sense.
just because we get so many calls.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Good deal.
All right. Are you guys good with that? Any other conditions or anything else?
good. Anyone else?
I think it's good.
And this is obviously in addition to our special conditions template, which I know is getting very long at this point, but I'll redo it when I have time.
All right. Well then, with that, I would make a motion to approve NOI 24-32 and stormwater permit 24-30 with the conditions outlined by Charlotte. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, I'll do a roll call vote then. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell, Steve, you're muted maybe? Okay, I don't see you.
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanji Fernando, aye.
Chris McIntyre, aye. I also make a motion, we need a variance, right, Charlotte?
Yes, please. And that motion passed 5-0-0.
Motion passes 5-0-0, and I also make a motion for work within the 50. A second.
Second,
All right, do a roll call vote again. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanji Fernando, aye.
And Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0 as well.
And Chris, that I believe you did read it, but your first motion was for the order, conditions, and the stormwater permit, correct? Because you read both numbers.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. With that, the public hearing for NOI 24-32 and stormwater permit 24-30 is now closed.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
Yep, likewise.
All right. Charlotte, did you say the show cause is continued?
No, I did email the applicant or the owner, excuse me. Let me just double check and see if they're.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the COC that was continued. All right. The next.
Yes, I'm sorry. So I guess I can give you guys the update. I mean, I did email the owner saying, you know, we were starting in 20 minutes. But so I guess just to refresh your memory, 45 Little Harbor, you know, there was the, you know, violations at 44 and there was some encroachment. I know this is very blurry, but I'll go through it. There was some encroachment. 2 trees were taken down within the resource area, just right at this property line, like right up here, if you guys can see my mouse. And so we had come up with a mitigation restoration plan for 44, and then we reached out to 45 owners afterwards. I did speak with them via email. They are proposing, I know it's hard to read, but if you guys see the 3 X's, which are shrubs, and 3 black dots, which are trees, they are putting them in a similar location of the 2 trees that were removed in the resource area. We wanted at least 2-to-1 replacement. They're suggesting 3 trees and 3 shrubs. And then let me pull up their species. They did say that they were looking at, I believe, eastern red cedars. So that was mostly what was already there. And then the shrubs, I had given them a list of shrubs that would do, hopefully would do better in the coastal bank. So let me just see their updated email. Sorry, give me one sec. They said northern bayberry and eastern red cedar. So 3 eastern red cedars and 3 northern bayberry shrubs in the coastal area where the 2 trees were removed close to this property line. So I guess, you know, I told them obviously it's the commission's decision of whether or not to accept this plan or not.
How many trees are they replicating?
So they 2 came down and they're putting in 3 and then 3 shrubs.
Seems pretty much in line with what we've required in the past, right?
Yeah, close.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bayberries will be a good addition. So, I mean, if you guys are okay with that instead of 4 trees, I mean, works
It's
for me.
rocky though, right? It's like is it ledge or is it rocky?
So it's a combination of, I can pull it, it'll be hard to see on near map, but I can pull it up. It's a combination of like overgrowth, kind of just like, you know, invasive and non-native and some native stuff. And they're going to put them probably close to the edge of the lawn in the areas where the trees came down. So, sorry, let me pull up near map. Where is my screen? There we go. So they are gonna, it's a little hard to see, but there should be space in here. But if you guys want them a closer here, I mean, this is where the trees were kind of removed and this area was cut down to the ground. I'm sure some of it's obviously grown back. But it looks like they have some landscaped areas here and then lawn edge here. So, I mean, this would be at the edge of the resource area if you wanted to shift them, but they did put them in this general area. And I can go out and find spots for them in this area if you guys wanted to do that, unless you guys want to see something closer to here.
I think that bald patch is probably the place.
Yeah.
The other area looks fairly overgrown and they're going to remove vegetation
Yeah,
that's
so
already there, so.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this was the area, like it was like this whole area. This was like a small cedar grove over here on the other property. So there definitely are a bunch of trees over here, but this was all kind of like overgrown stuff that was all, weed whacked and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, if it's too busy in here, I can always work with them to shift it over here a little bit more. And they may not like the trees there. They wanted to put the trees back in the areas where they were cut, which seems fine. But yeah, with the shrubs, I mean,
Well, if the trees were doing okay before they were cut, then we have some
yeah,
maybe greater confidence that planting new eastern red cedars in a place where they were doing okay is going to
Yeah.
work out.
yeah, I think at least in this area, I think the cedars will be okay. And then we can find a specific place for the shrubs. Yeah. It looks probably crowded more than it actually is because I've walked this area. So
All right, so just
are you guys for trees? I know with coniferous, we usually go at least 6 to 8 feet. So do you want me to tell them that as well? We don't really go by caliper size for coniferous for whatever reason. I forget what the reason is. But usually 6 to 8 feet in height or 2 to 3 inch in caliper for deciduous. So that should be pretty easy to find.
one more time, the numbers that were removed and are being replaced, it was a little bit fuzzy on how many trees.
Yeah, sorry. So it's so 2 trees were removed within the resource area on 45 Little Harbor. They are replacing 3 trees and 3 shrubs.
Oh. So, all right. So just have them do 4 trees. I mean, it's well within, it's like in the resource area. So 2 to 1 is 2 to 1 is for the 50. This is in the resource, so I don't really want to.
Okay.
I would say 3 shrubs and 4 trees. It's pretty. 2 to 1 is, I would say.
Okay. Would you be okay with it if they just wanted 4 trees instead and took out the 3 shrubs, or do you still want to keep the shrubs?
Yeah, I would say try to keep the shrubs.
Okay. Okay. Since
Well,
they're not here, I would probably continue the show cause and I can just email them and let them know. And if they're okay with it, we can just do a quick follow-up and close it out unless they wanted to discuss more. So I would not close it out until they've, confirmed that that's what they'll do.
That's yeah, and I mean that's just me. But I think we have to stick to our kind of standards for mitigation for trees
Yeah.
cut in a resource area, especially given the fact that the neighbor right next door just went through this. We want to maintain consistency.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, we can push this off to 12/5 if you guys are good with that. Just to just so that we can all be on the same page before we close it out. Does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Cool.
Great. What else? Tree policy?
So we have a conservation restriction next on the agenda. And I do have Jeff Wall and Sarah Karen from Cohasset Conservation Trust, CCT, which I will promote them now. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Great.
Okay.
We served on this board many years together, so it's entertaining to watch you guys.
Yeah, welcome back.
How'd we do?
You're tough.
That's good. Thank you.
Sarah or Jeff, would you guys like to either pull up plans or share your screen or, just go through the CR quickly and I can jump in, or if you guys want me to start and you guys jump in, let me know what works best for you guys.
Why don't you start and I can answer any questions you have.
Sure. Okay. So conservation restrictions, it is the commission's responsibility. I know, I don't think any of us have seen one recently, so I will definitely be giving you guys all the resources so that we can be a little bit more involved in this process. And I will be working with Sarah and Jeff to, improve internal procedures on the town's end to, be looking at these. Just so that the commission is fully aware, most CRs are usually utilizing a template, which is that the state has provided, and they're modified each time, obviously based on the specific, conditions for or the type of parcel. So just to give you guys just a brief look at it on Nearmap, I can pull up the actual maps, but the plot is a little bit different from what you guys see, but you can see that it's all wooded. And if you guys are looking on the state maps, the state has new layers called biomap, which map wildlife habitat and value. And this area does have natural landscaped core habitat value. And so the actual plan, which I can pull up, will show the parcel limits. I think it's what, two something acres, Sarah and Jeff? Is it?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let me pull up the plan just so you guys can see the parcel. So this is it. And just to give the commission a brief overview, the CR has been reviewed and approved by town council already. They did get funding and approval at town meeting a few years back. So this is kind of like finally putting together the restriction, the documents. It's already been approved by pretty much like everybody, except that it does need to be voted on and approved by the Conservation Commission. Each of you will need to sign your own signature page. So if the commission, votes on and approves this tonight, I will have all the signature pages printed out and you guys will have to sign them with the town clerk to notarize it. So, I'll work with you guys to do that. Hopefully we can get that taken care of in a couple of weeks. But in terms of the CR, which I can pull up, like I said, it's usually based off of a standard template. However, it's been modified obviously to accommodate for this particular parcel. There are always a list of prohibited and allowed uses. You will see patterns in CRs, but obviously no development, like with structures, improvements, extracting services like mining, dredging, no dumping, and obviously not clear cutting trees or anything like that. So these are, pretty standard when it comes to a CR. I think these are pretty straightforward. And then motor vehicles are usually prohibited in certain ways, and then they're allowed in other ways. So I'll go down to the allowed use. I think it was in case they wanted to do trails for, recreation and enjoyment. The vehicles allowed would obviously be, like handicapped, vehicles, not necessarily like obviously like snowmobiles or something. And then, obviously no subdividing the parcel, no adverse impacts with stone walls, boundary markers. This is all very, very standard. And in terms of permitted uses, vegetation management is common, like pruning, maintaining, trimming, especially if any trails are created. Obviously there's, I don't see anything specifically for, oh, yep, there we go. Removing non-native nuisance invasive species. So again, and then composting actually is put in CRs often, depending on the parcel. Again, maybe if it was all wetlands, not necessarily, but in this case, it was added as a permitted use. And then any resource improvements, archaeological investigations, and trails, and then signs. And then, like I said, motorized vehicles with mobility impairments, persons with mobility impairments, and then outdoor passive recreational educational activities. So in terms of a CR, when I looked it over, I didn't see any major red flags. And I didn't know if the commission had a chance to look through it, if you guys had any questions, but I guess Sarah and Jeff, I know I did like a really rough overview, but did you guys want to give any history of the site or any additional information I didn't include?
One of the things I think I'd like to point out is that we've been working on this conservation restriction for more than 3 years.
Yeah.
The town funding went through town meeting at the annual town meeting in 2021. And since then, we've been working with the landowners in the state, in the town to get everything the way that everybody wants it. And we're like on the 5-yard line now. the state has approved it. The select board has conditionally approved it. They haven't voted on it to sign it yet, but they reviewed it a few months ago, and everything seemed to be okay with them. We're going to be going before them. Sarah, what, do we have a date with the select board?
So assuming that it gets approved tonight, it looks like the December 17th select board meeting would be the next one
Okay,
because there's the town meeting on December 9th.
okay, excellent. And then it goes back to the state to get the
Mm.
secretary of
Like the EOEA, yeah.
Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs signature.
Yeah, I think there's an extra E now.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 E's now. It's crazy. And it will obviously, once it's been signed and approved by all parties, it will of course be recorded with the registry of deeds because that makes it official.
Right.
Correct.
And just for the commission to know, this piece, this Salerno property is kind of the keystone piece in a series of connected properties that the Cohasset Conservation Trust will own. Lou Harvey donated 7 acres at 455 King Street. And while that's a beautiful property and it has a nice little trail, in order to get to Andros Island or Wheelwright Highlands, having this Salerno piece will give us the passage. So we'll have the trails from Harvey through Salerno to Wheelwright Highlands. And it's literally like going to New Hampshire up on this property. I'm not kidding. It's gorgeous. So we're very, very, very excited to be adding this property to one of our properties.
If I can share that screen, I can show how all these properties will be connected.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, it's also near the Churchill Conservation Area, which you can see from Beechwood. And then the town and the CCT both own Andros Island, which is kind of in between this property and Lily Pond, our water supply.
Yeah, this side of town is turning green on the state map with the CRs, so it's nice.
Mhm.
Just see it, the wider space that you can connect and not just have weird parcels in the middle of nowhere. It's nice to see a large area protected.
Mhm. I mean, when Jeff and I served on this board, I also was on the Stormwater Committee with John McNabb, who was on Water Commission back then. And, 20 years ago, it was very easy to get state money and buy land. So there was a lot of land purchased around the water supply back then. But these little parcels have been hard for us to obtain. It's been a long road. Jeff is very patient. Without his patience, I don't know. We actually got our state rep involved, Joan Machino. She was the squeaky wheel, or we may not even be here tonight. So whenever the ribbon cutting happens, she is invited.
Absolutely.
Okay, can you see the map now?
Not yet.
Okay,
I don't know if you have multiple screens. I do that sometimes.
no, I don't.
You're sharing your screen. Yeah.
Well, I guess I can't show it to you, but I'm calling the Salerno property, which is this 487 King Street gateway property from Lou Harvey property that we have, 7 acres, to all of the other properties owned by the town as well as owned by us. So although it's only 2+ acres, it gives access to, I think, more than 20 acres.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, this is just Mass Mapper, just to give you guys an idea. But as
Yep.
you can see, all these green parcels are already protected under conservation restrictions. So the Andros Island one, the Beechwood Street one. And so, yeah, the way this parcel's designed is like you said, Jeff, it'll give that access to the
Right.
other protected parcels in this whole area.
Yeah, and that
And-
455,
Further down, so.
that's, that's the Harvey property that we own,
Which one?
455.
455 right here? You
Yeah.
own this one too? Okay,
Yep, that's 7 acres.
nice.
And then Andros Island, but the other part of Andros Island is owned by the town. The one just to the north of that, the two just to the north of that are also town-owned properties. And then we own the Campbell Meadows property and Wheelwright Highlands. So it gives access to quite a bit of property, some trails that are there, and also it's just a nice open space for people to enjoy.
The Salernos have let us on occasion bring groups in. So we've brought the high school's environmental science class with Jack Buckley. And Jack Buckley was like, I've been on a lot of properties, but this is pretty nice. We had like the kids were like singing a cappella up on the bench. I mean, we're not that far from the road, but I'm not kidding. It brings you far away. It's pretty unique back in there.
Will there be a restriction on mountain bike use?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll pull that back up. Pretty much like most motorized vehicle stuff was prohibited except for,
Mountain bikes aren't motorized.
oh, sorry, yes. Hold on. I think it
It's
did.
not really that long that I don't see how a mountain biker would want to do it. Accessing from the Harvey property, it's very steep. No bike is going up it.
Oh, I guess not. The bike wasn't in here.
Yeah, it's not a conducive property for biking. It's not like Wheelwright Park or Wampatuck. With Wampatuck right down the street, there's no one that would want to be mountain biking in here. It's just too short a trail. And there's that very steep section.
What next?
If the commission doesn't have any questions about the CR or the property itself, you would, just make a motion to approve the conservation restriction, and then it would be followed up by you guys just needing to come to town hall to sign your signature pages with the town clerk.
What property are they going for next?
Oh, which one are you guys going for next?
Kidding.
Good question.
I have a good idea
Good
for you guys.
question.
What about 22 Woodland. I've been looking at that. It's this undeveloped cul-de-sac wetland area. It's
Do you know who owns it?
some development company owned by Evergreen Builders LLC.
Hmm.
It's 9.5 acres in Peppermint Brook watershed.
Oh, wow.
Put me out there.
I can pull it up. Hold on.
When the property's done, Jeff, who will actually own it?
We'll own it. The town will have the CR.
Right.
And then from an enforcement perspective, we would work with the town would work with CCT to monitor the property, and in case there's any issues, move forward with any enforcement. And there's all procedures for that listed in the CR. A lot of CRs quite frequently are monitored on the grounds, but also via aerial imagery. So another really great use for near map.
Yeah, Charlotte and I talked about the CCT coming maybe in early 2025 and kind of going through all the properties where you guys have the CR, we own the land, or vice versa, like Barnes Wildlife Sanctuary, the town owns, but the Cohasset Conservation Trust holds a CR. So just to kind of get the inventory of who owns what, who's holding the CRs, and just get on the same page with each other. That's something we're hoping to do in the new year.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And this is also something for the commission's reference that it has always been the commission's responsibility to do this. And unfortunately, just with very limited town resources, this, to my knowledge, unless it's been done sporadically, has never really been done to a level that should be happening. So, you know, in a perfect world, we would be looking at CRs early on, going to the site, sometimes even doing the whole you know, site investigation forms, looking at the environmental and habitat value. So we're supposed to really be more involved in the process, especially if the Conservation Commission is involved in any way other than just the town of Cohasset. Sometimes conservation commissions can be listed in CRs, which we are actually in a few of them. And so, you know, moving forward, hopefully with working with Sarah and Jeff, we can join forces here and be more proactive in looking at monitoring and even just monitoring the properties. This week, I did see one that had significant encroachment. So hopefully that's something that we'll be better at moving forward and just making sure that these properties stay protected.
Yeah. Good.
And it's okay to add this to my list because it's always been on my list. I've just never done it.
I don't know, do the trust directors still do their, have their own properties to kind of keep an eye on?
We have over 20 properties right now, and we have to keep an eye on all of them. We always identify some encroachments, and we have to talk to some of the abutters, get things straightened out.
Yeah, and in specific times, you can definitely see where the encroachments are coming from. Like someone will try to expand their lawn, push out their wall, add a fence, you know, do things like that. So it really helps to have all eyes looking at these properties at least a couple times a year, but you know, maybe even doing site visits once a year.
And we got a
We're
lot of
trying-
dumping of leaves as well.
Yeah, lots of dumping.
Yep.
And that's hard to see on near map. That's why you got to go to the sites.
Mhm.
So just going back to the conditions of the CR, what does composting entail then? Question, I'm just curious what the language was.
It was stockpiling and composting stumps, trees, brush limbs, and similar biodegradable materials originating on the premises, provided that such stockpiling and composting are in locations where the presence of such activities will not have wow, I cannot even say that word, deleterious impact on the purposes or conservation values of the restriction. No composting or stockpiling shall be done within 50 feet of wetlands.
Because basically, if there's a tree that falls on the trail, could be a really large tree, we're probably not going to remove the tree. It's probably going to stay on this property. And so this kind of allows that to happen.
Yeah, so like originating on the premises,
Got
so not like bringing in anything like from
Understood.
somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Thank you. All right, well, if any other commissioners have any questions or comments, because I think this is an easy one. Then with that, I'll make a motion to approve this conservation restriction 487 King Street, lot C1.
Tom Bell, second.
Great. With that, I'll take a roll call vote. Tom Bell,
Tom Bell, aye.
Steve Magnell,
Steve Magnell, aye.
Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, I.
Sanji Fernando,
Sanjay Fernando, aye.
Chris McIntyre, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0.
Awesome. Thank you
Great,
guys.
thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll text you guys when the signature pages, hopefully I can print them out tomorrow or early Monday. I know next week's Thanksgiving, but I'll let you guys know when the signature pages are at town clerk's office and you guys can go when works best for you.
I'm waiting to get final approval. from
Oh,
the
you are
signature
waiting on
pages.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I sent it in last week.
Yeah.
State's a little bit slow on things.
Also, Jeff, just a quick heads up, they're working on the open space and recreation new laws and stuff. And so Mike Gendron is about to get flooded. So maybe check in with him tomorrow just to make sure, because he's about to get bombarded with public comments.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a
Wonderful.
great, it's an amazing, step with preserving open space, but the public comment period is about to open for specific, regulations and stuff. So
Mhm.
that he might start, maybe not tomorrow, but he'll start getting a lot of emails and get
Yeah.
bogged down by that.
All right. Thanks.
All righty, thank you very much. Good night.
Okay,
Thank
good
you,
night.
guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yay, our first conservation restriction. And yeah, just to reiterate, like I put a bunch of guidelines and information that I've been gathering over the last couple weeks. I've been taking trainings actually, one earlier this week and one last week. This is just, it's always been supposed to be a part of the commission's job and my job, but the town has just not been really at all involved unless, the lawyers are figuring out the CR language. But after that, nobody really does anything with them afterwards. And CCT, obviously their resources are limited too with monitoring. So yeah, we really need to be, as a town and also commission, myself, we need to be more involved, and I'm working internally on that. So
Yeah,
letting
it
you
used, it used to be that one had many fewer properties, that each director had a property or two that they're responsible for. My wife was one of the directors for a while.
Yeah, and CCT does not have that staffing either. Like, I think they have
More,
6 or 7 people, I think.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And Sarah is the new chair. She replaced Debbie Shad, who was the previous chair. They're still on the board. It's just Sarah is kind of taking this, and I talked to her, like Sarah mentioned, about just being better at this, because I found an encroachment that is over 12 years old, and it's pretty bad on Beach Street. So, I mean, just goes to show how often we're looking at these properties, which is barely anything. I mean, they've done their own, obviously, but I doubt they've been looking at every parcel that they own consistently. They've probably been paying more attention to the bigger ones, like obviously barns and stuff, but it'd be nice if I could help them out more, and we'll figure it out.
Well, you're right. Near map is
Oh,
already
yeah.
purpose for our our hearings.
Yeah.
Make that task a whole lot easier.
It is definitely easier. Also, there are other similar aerial imagery services for conservation restriction monitoring that other towns use. And so eventually I'll look into that, but I'm pretty satisfied with Nearmap. So
Okay.
yeah, good stuff.
Good. Okay. Next then on the agenda, Charlotte.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm sorry I sent this late, but the email that I sent you guys, either yesterday or Tuesday, I apologize. It was late last minute, but I guess I kind of wanted to just it's a very rough draft right now. So I don't expect you guys to go in there and start tearing it apart unless you want to. I'm going to maybe touch it up more. But I guess I can pull it up just to kind of show you guys how I came to this document and what my goals are for it. And then I wanted to get your feedback, at least tonight, from like a basic standpoint of how you guys would want to see this finalized. So I don't expect us to finish this tonight, because obviously we all need more time to look at it. And I'm still looking at other towns. I'm finding other towns that I think have really good stuff. So I looked at a lot of different towns. I was first modeling this like a bylaw, but my goal is to make this very short and make it no more than a couple pages, because I want all the professionals to get it and I want to make sure it's widely distributed. And then what I'm going to do is I will put a lot of like background information and benefits of trees and all this other stuff. I'm going to put all of that on a supplementary document, because I've seen other towns do that. Like Duxbury does that. A few other towns where I've looked at their policies have also done that, just because I think it's even though it's more documents, it's just a cleaner thing of like, we have our tree policy. It's a couple pages. Here it is. Give it to all the professionals. And then, the shorter it is to read, the less wordy it is. I think the easier it will be for people to follow. And then the guidance document can be much more of like a informational, like, here's the background, here's the rationale, here are the benefits of trees, so I still want to emphasize the importance of that stuff in the policy, but just wanted to give you guys that idea that this will be cut down significantly. So my first question is, Some towns have an invasive tree policy administratively. So I guess, do we want to keep this to just hazard trees, or do we want to branch it out to like people taking out like Norway maples, trees of heaven, things like that? Even though those would be not necessarily dead, dying, hazardous, or diseased, they would be, you know, anywhere from perfectly healthy Norway maples to, you know, diseased and dead as well. So I guess that's question number one, is do we want to branch this out to be more inclusive of invasive species?
I would be in favor of that.
Okay.
Is that implying that those trees can be removed without replacement?
No. So I would recommend through this policy that there's definitely a replacement requirement. And then depending on what we want to do for hazard trees, I don't know if I would want to do that unless it's maybe a certain amount of trees or a certain size caliper where they're really big and they still serve as wildlife habitat. But for invasive trees, especially if they're alive, like I would want to see replacement. So yeah, I would definitely want to see some sort of replacement requirement specifically for invasive trees to put back native, you know, and still replace the biomass to some degree. And then hazardous, up to you guys. I know the hazardous is definitely a way to streamline the process that we don't have to submit an RDA every single time for a tree that potentially be a liability. Yeah. Okay.
So-
But yeah, if you guys are open to invasive, I can keep it and I can hash out the language.
So I think we need I don't know whether you have a definition of hazardous here. But
Yes.
I think we definitely need one.
Yeah, so I'm also gonna take this out probably. I was typing it out, but I'm probably gonna switch half and half to a guidance document. So I think we need to define what a tree is. Various towns have different definitions. I don't know if we need all of these definitions, but we definitely need to define this. I've spoken to a few arborists and I've taken a handful of trainings over the last few months. Anyone can call a tree a hazard. And I think a clear definition of what a risk tree is versus a hazard tree. Risk trees are things where you can obviously do things to them to make sure they don't become hazard trees. Hazard trees would be like, you've done everything, or there's an instance where it's like split in half and it's about to fall over, or it was uprooted in the storm. But a risk tree would be something like it has those widowmaker branches, or like things that you can do. So that would be what I want to define in this policy. So yeah, the size of a tree, a hazard tree versus a risk tree. I'm playing with language here on a substantial threat or an imminent substantial threat, because depending on how we want to classify a hazard tree, I think we need to be clear that it has to be like something that is an imminent danger. You know what I mean? Like not something that could potentially be a danger. And that's where the risk tree definition comes in. But that's kind of, I can tie this language into what we think a hazard tree versus a risk tree is. And then harmful cutting, I do want to keep that in here and I'll explain why. But the quick answer now is because we don't just want to let people do whatever they want to trees. There's a guidance among arborists that is, trimming and pruning trees is the best thing you can do for a tree, but also it can potentially be the worst thing for a tree, especially if you aren't doing it correctly. So I want to make sure that we're not just opening up the floodgates to everybody doing whatever they want to trees. So I would allow certain maintenance activities like thinning branches, pruning dead things. Vista pruning is technically allowed under our regulations. And so I would mirror that here. Vista pruning is only allowed, you can't take out more than 10 or 20% of the canopy. So I'd clearly define that. Obviously topping a tree. I mean, so I don't have to keep all these definitions in here. I was mostly just adding them, but the ones in bold, I would certainly keep. And then I would want to clarify the language and be consistent of what we think a substantial threat is versus an immediate threat, because that would define my actions under this policy. If it's immediate, they can take out the tree and submit it retroactively. If it's a substantial threat, they have to submit the form to me. I have to approve it. I have to go out to the site before I allow it. So that's really the main definition of like, you know, we understand if something is literally about to fall in a house, like, first of all, yes, cut it out and submit the form later versus something that could fall on a house, you know? So, and then I want to define tree professional in this policy because I want to make it clear that it is a very experienced person and not just somebody with a chainsaw. It doesn't necessarily, from what I've researched, have to be a certified arborist, because some people get their arborist licenses and they may not renew it for like a year. you know? So like people who've been in the tree business like 20, 30 years and maybe they just didn't get their arborist license for whatever reason for like a couple years, but then they renew it the next year. Like that's kind of why I wanted to make sure it was a licensed and experienced person who works in tree maintenance, whatever, or what, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want it to just be anybody with a chainsaw. So however you guys want to define that, I think is important because then we can use that word that's the documentation we need from the person to verify that the tree is a threat and it'll be allowed to get taken out under the policy.
So how do we ensure that there are no conflicts of interest here? If a certified arborist is also going to be the person who does the work, there's just obvious, you know, and at least the appearance of conflict of interest.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That was one of my questions because, like, I know we've definitely played
Maybe
with
it's a second. Maybe it's a second opinion thing.
Yeah.
For some trees and not others. I mean, obviously, if there's an immediate danger, you don't want to waste any time having a second person come in to verify. But for some of the other cases that we've had, it just seems wise to get two opinions.
Yeah, I think I added stuff like that. I added these. Actually, can we come back to that, Tom?
Yeah,
but I did add stuff like that to try and get your reading on what you guys think about that, just because obviously I'm sure the person who's probably going to provide the documentation is going to be the one doing the work. So I put in language to try and say, at my discretion, I can always require an arborist or a third party opinion because between us, I know the people for the most part who are experienced and which people are not. So, I mean, unfortunately, that is a bias that I have, and I don't want to put that in the policy. That's why I'm leaving it as more of a general statement. But anyway, so I guess, yeah, we can play with this language, but this is kind of what I was putting together based on what other towns have done. A substantial threat to private or public property and or safety is within the footprint of proposed and or is within the footprint of proposed construction. It includes, but is not limited to, and then I was trying to type it out. But like, I think I would definitely just want to make sure we all agree on what a hazard tree is and what a risk tree is and clearly define that. So I think this would involve, obviously, you guys, of course, looking at this on your own and, you know, providing any notes and suggestions that you have for me. This is basically from other policies. I think this was taken from Duxbury. Like these are signs of a hazard tree where it's like it's leaning, it's showing significant signs of uprooting with cracked soils around it, like significant signs of infestation. The entire tree is could fall into a structure driveway. I mean, it's repetitive deleaning, but you know what I mean. So I mean, things that are really obvious that anybody reading this policy can understand, and that's my goal for this policy. I want to make it very clear, no room for interpretation. So I will make it less wordy, simpler, shorter. But for now, I was typing out all my thoughts. But yeah, that would be something that I would love your feedback on. I know we don't have to hash through it all tonight, but you know, I'll just go through the rest of it and then maybe we can come back to some of that. But yeah, I just wanted to emphasize again, hazard versus risk trees. Defining invasive tree, I want it to obviously be found on the Massachusetts Invasive Plants Advisory Group list. That list is updated pretty frequently between invasive, potentially invasive, likely invasive, and not enough data. So that list is updated, you know, by professionals. And so, you know, again, the obvious ones are Norway maples, trees of heaven, but anything else that's considered an invasive species on the list, we can pair with this policy. This is a big section, so maybe we can spend a little bit of time on it to kind of get your thinking on this. So in this section, I really want to define like what's allowed versus what's not allowed. And I was going to make a table. Right now, I was just typing it out to get my words on the page, but I'll make it a nice, pretty table so it's really easy to read. So I think under the maintenance policy, this is what I was thinking, but I will definitely take your thoughts. Cutting or removal of hazard trees confirmed by a certified arborist or a licensed professional within the buffer zone, within the riverfront, and within lands subject to flooding. That's pretty consistent with other policies. So not in a wetland, not in a stream, not in a vernal pool. We could exclude vernal pools if you wanted to, but these were at least the resource areas where it's already a minor activity. under the Wetlands Protection Act. And then in the buffer zone, well, maybe not land subject to flooding, but within the riverfront and buffer zone, it's already a minor activity to remove hazardous trees that are an imminent hazard to driver and road safety. So it's kind of already moving along those guidelines. And then removal or cutting of invasive trees. And then maintenance, trimming, pruning, anything that's not harmful. And I was going to define that and again, do it in like a do's and don'ts table. And then saying harmful cutting is not allowed. So again, someone can't come in and cut off half a tree. And then the stuff that does not qualify and would need an RDA or an NOI would be the harmful cutting of any live or healthy native, non-native, or invasive. I mean, well, I can take out invasive since you guys want to maybe include that here. And then removal of any tree within a wetland resource area that is not the riverfront or a land subject to flooding, unless there's an immediate and substantial threat to private or property. So that's like the only exception that I would allow. Like, again, if there's a storm, it rips up a tree and it's about to fall on a roof, and it's might potentially be in a sensitive area on a home that's right on the edge of a marsh. Hopefully we don't see that many exceptions, but that's just kind of what I want to make sure is very clear. But again, I can take it out and just say you can't take anything out in a wetland resource area. But and then removal of any dying, diseased, or hazardous trees within a wetland resource area. Again, that's not riverfront or land subject to flooding. I mean, we don't want people going in the middle of wetlands and taking out a bunch of ash trees, you know, just leave them be unless you want to submit like a notice of intent to do a restoration plan or something. Does that kind of make sense?
So Charlotte, these are going to be regulations, right?
This policy is technically, it's a little bit weaker than a regulation. So what I can do is the policy can be implemented first, and we can eventually add it to our wetlands regs to give it more regulatory power. A policy kind of has the weakest amount of power, but most towns have done policies at their discretion.
So for example, if we want to tighten up in the riverfront, we'd have to pass a bylaw essentially to cover that riverfront resource.
We would definitely have to update our bylaws and our regs, and I can talk to council about that. But I think for now, when I roughly talked to council about a hazardous tree policy, they were supportive of it because so many towns do it, even though it's not officially in line with the Wetlands Protection Act. I did talk to a few people from DEP who off the record were like, yep, we get that people do this. They're not going to come down and slap violations on us. But at the same point, you know, maybe just being careful with what we're putting in here. And obviously we would review this with town council. So yeah. I don't know. Yeah. The riverfront is so large. That's why I was adding it, but we don't have to do that. That's just the Wetlands Protection Act defined it as a minor activity for hazard trees that are in the way of, you know, road or driver safety. But I guess from a general standpoint, does this sound okay? Like hazard tree cutting, and we can maybe figure out if we want to allow the certain resource areas, but in the buffer zone, even in the 50, is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, this is a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah, some towns like Norwell does not allow anything to be cut through administrative purposes within 25 feet. So they'll allow their policy to go up to 25 feet, and then anything within 25 feet of a wetland or a resource area, they want an RDA. So every town does this differently. That's why it's like I was trying to add like literally a combination of what all the towns are doing, but I think it's something that, you know, I don't want to rush this, even though I do want this to happen. I don't want to rush it. So while we have a slow period between November and January, maybe we can like all look at this, you know, because we canceled our 12/19 meeting. So, you know, I'll definitely be working on this over the next few weeks. But, you know, if this, for the most part, seems like a good start, I'll just keep it and I'll send you guys a new draft once I'm done adding everything to it. So yeah, the things that would not allowed and would want an RDA or an NOI would be harmful cutting, removal of any trees in a wetland resource area, or unless it's an immediate hazard, or removal of any stuff in a wetland. And then, yeah, like I said, emergency stuff. A lot of towns do have this. We understand if there's an emergency that happens where you have to take action and then you submit the stuff later. We can look at that, but that is something to consider. So this is another big topic that I wanted to go over with you guys. I haven't read all the towns yet in your OneDrive folder, but My concern is I don't want to allow somebody the possibility of abusing this policy. So this is completely made up from me. I have not referenced this from any other towns yet, although some towns have a limit of 5 trees or something. So this is something that maybe you guys can think about, but I do want to limit the number of tree removal requests to which an individual person or landowner may submit for an individual property within a certain time frame. So we can definitely discuss this, but basically I don't want somebody going in every single year and saying, oh, administrative policy, I'm cutting down 10 trees, you know? So that's what I don't want. And then hiring the same guy every single time or the same woman to write that letter saying, yeah, it's a hazard, take it out. You know what I mean? So I just want to limit this, but I understand this may or may not be complicated, and that's why I want to talk to council about it, but that's really my concern. I just don't want people to abuse this policy. So, do you guys have any initial thoughts on that, of putting in these types of restrictions?
Well, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess
Uh,
Sanji, Chris, Kathy, Steve, any other thoughts too? I mean,
Definitely a good idea.
okay.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to define it. That's all. I was messing with the language, but I don't really know. I mean, it's another tough thing to keep track of, to just keep track of how many properties are submitting these requests, but yeah.
I mean, I think you could just simplify it and say that administrative tree removal be limited to like 2 trees, otherwise it needs to be reviewed or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're looking at it over a period of time,
Yeah.
I have a hard time, you know, imagining someone's just clear cutting their little biting off tree, like 5 trees a year, unless they own a huge
Yeah.
swath of land, and then I wouldn't think it would
I know
it wouldn't
specific
meet our
people who
definition
would
of
do this.
hazard tree because it's not near anything if it's not a situation like that.
Yeah. I already know specific people who will take advantage of this, and I will not name their names, but I already know of people in town who will do this. I don't think the majority of Cohasset residents will do this, but a select few most certainly will.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can think about this. I'll brainstorm a little bit more, but that's
Something to
really
the
what
effect of like at the agent's discretion, it may not
Yeah.
be administrative.
that's
It-
true.
I think it should be tied to the property, not to the
Correct.
current landowner.
Yes.
So the restriction should be on the property. So if it changes hands, that doesn't give the new owner carte blanche
Yes.
to start all over again.
Right. So yeah, that's definitely something that, like, the property itself can't be submitting multiple things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the limit itself, no more than 2, 3, you know, some towns have done 5, some towns have done less. Through the administrative request, you can't submit to like take down 10 trees or something in one submission. So yeah. Yeah. And again, I always want to add in this emergency clause, like, again, unless a big hurricane or a tropical storm or a windstorm or a nor'easter comes through where trees that weren't initially considered a hazard are now a hazard after the storm. That would be the only thing that I would caveat it with. But like I said, to put the language in simply, correctly, you know, I definitely would lean on council for this, but I want to look at what other towns have done. But I can tell you right now, I know specific people in Cohasset who will take advantage of this. So I hate to say it. It's none of you guys, obviously. Yeah, okay, so we can work through that. And then here's what I was thinking for submission requirements. I think for maintenance requests, first of all, everybody who I talk to people, as long as they notify me and give me a heads up, I allow healthy pruning of trees. Just because there's been so many calls, I would rather write this off to be much simpler than do a bigger submission with the form and the maps and everything. So if you guys are okay with this, that would be how I can triage these requests more easily. And I would still go to the site. So I would definitely still want to go to the site, get a photo of the tree, see where they're going to prune the tree, and just get that in writing from the arborist. And I wouldn't want to do a filing fee just to make it easier and make it even tempting for people to follow this policy even more. And if they don't do it, then they can be subject to punishment. So I think to make this attractive, I want to make this nice and simple for just trimming and thinning and maintenance things, if that's okay with you guys. And then for invasive or removals or hazard removals, obviously they fill out the full form, the filing fee. Also, let me know how much you guys want to charge, because I've seen so many different prices. So John Hallen suggested 75 because that's a standard building permit for simple things. I don't know if you guys want to do 50, 30, I don't know, whatever you guys want. I mean, we might get a lot of these. So, and then an informal map, that's pretty standard from the other towns. And then obviously, a letter or any correspondence from the arborist or an experienced tree professional, you know, just confirming the details, providing documentation, explanation of how it's a substantial threat, you know, just being very specific in writing. And then if the professional is not a certified arborist, the agent shall reserve the right to request the professional's license, resume, CV to determine if their assessment of the tree is supported by their professional background, and or the agent may require a separate party to assess the tree, preferably another professional who is not removing or cutting the tree, if the letter or correspondence provided is basically not satisfactory. So, I mean, I can keep both of these, one or the other, whatever you guys want. I didn't know if it was rude to ask for someone's qualifications, but I do that with academic professionals all the time. So I don't know the etiquette with tree guys. I don't know if that'll piss them off. Can I see your resume?
They'll
So,
get used to it.
yeah, I don't know. So I'm good to keep both of these bullets or one of the other. But I think just allowing me the discretion to ask for a separate party, you know,
That's okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
I think that's fair, you know? And like I said, I know certain people in town who are really good, and I know people who are like, meh. I don't want to say anyone's terrible, but, you know, it would allow me the discretion, especially depending on the tree.
You should
But yeah,
have.
but there are plenty of people. I'm sorry, there's two people that I work with in town. I won't name their names just to be respectful, but they are not certified arborists. However, they have been working in the tree business for 30 to 40 years. And so they have a lot of knowledge. They take courses. I don't know why they don't have a certified arborist license. Like, I don't know if it's expensive, but they know their stuff. So that's where it's kind of like an experienced tree professional, you know? So just trying to be inclusive of those few guys around town who know their stuff. They just, for whatever reason, don't have the license.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of requirements, I think for anything that's not like maintenance, I would want to see the form, the fee, the map, the letter or the email, and then photos. And then I think this is more than fair for myself and from what other towns have done, business days. And then if I request a site visit, I would like an additional 2 days to make a decision. So like if I don't do a site visit, which I would want to do every time, but realistically, sometimes I might be busy, you know, or if I know the property already. So 5 business days to review if I don't do a site visit, but then if I do a site visit make a decision within 2 days. So that would, at least this is what I'm comfortable with. And if you guys want me to modify that, change it, whatever, let me know. But I was modifying this, or I was mirroring this like a bylaw. I will make a decision to either approve it with or without modifications or conditions, deny it and require an NOI or an RDA. So I'll put that in writing. Also, we need an application form. Millions of towns do it different ways. Some towns do it directly on their website. I would love that, but our website is garbage. So unfortunately, I might have to go with an actual form. Yeah, I mean, there are forms on the town website, but I don't know if you guys have used them, but to me, I think they're bad. Civic Plus is kind of not the greatest, but it's what a lot of town websites use. And yeah, so if there's a way for me to put it right on the website, I will. I don't know how it will work. Especially for people who may not be tech savvy. I would rather have a physical form for them to print, or maybe I give them both options. I don't know. And then the stuff that I didn't get to yet would be obviously replacement requirements, alternatives. So I don't know if, like, especially for risk versus hazard trees, I would, you know, if someone can't call a tree a hazard tree, then, you know, I can tell them you can't take it out unless you give me other alternatives. There's also other ways to treat trees, as you guys know. That does involve a variety of different methods. And I would be encouraging to use them, but I wouldn't want to use them really close to wetlands, if that makes any sense. So that's something to think about. I know you guys, there's bio treatments, there's nutrient treatments, there's all these different things that you can do to try and save a tree. The general knowledge or the general guidance that I've given tree people in town, I usually tell people, whatever you can do to save a tree, do it, unless you're spraying something or doing something really close to a wetland, then we need to talk about that. So that's the general guidance I've given them so far, just because I'd rather people save a tree than cut a tree. So, but I kind of wanted to keep that in the policy just as an acknowledgement. And then the other document I put in OneDrive, I originally created this document as an educational document to new homeowners. I was giving it out through the welcome packets that the library has, but I haven't had time to fully add, obviously, what I want to do here. So the tree stuff was, the guidance document was mostly made for navigating all of the tree policies in town. So like, is the tree in a right of way? Is the tree on a scenic road? Blah, blah, blah. So that was a little bit more general, but eventually, like I said, I want to take out all of this flowery supplementary language, put it all in one document for Concom. Maybe I'll keep the tree care guidance separate, and I would have that approved with the town planner and the tree warden, just so that we can post that to make sure that people know the process of how to get permission from the town on a general level, and then eventually through Concom. But I will be putting the resources referenced in this policy, so I can take a lot of this out, make it nice and sweet, like I said, short and sweet, and then put everything in a guidance document or multiple guidance documents, depending on how we want to do it. So sorry, with that, I can be done talking now. So I guess, anybody have any thoughts, or has anyone looked at the stuff yet? I'm sorry, I sent it late.
I
No?
just gave it a good look with
Yeah.
your review, and I had kind of perused it earlier. I think you did a great job.
Okay.
Did you look at the tree policy that we have existing through the town and kind of
The street tree policy?
it's not just street trees, it's the tree policy that I think it was Brian Sweeney put together, and the
Oh,
spaces,
okay.
open spaces kind of
Is that new? I can reach out to open space, but I haven't.
few years old, a couple
Okay.
years.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
It's pretty soft. This is definitely building on it, but I think
Yeah.
just I don't know. This is obviously our purview. It's in our jurisdictional kind of conservation stand. I mean, within our
Yeah.
area of regulation, but be nice to beef up the other one too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna, when we have a little bit more of a finalized product, I do want to give open space the courtesy to let them know that that we created this. And yeah, like I would at least like them to weigh in, just to let them know that, one, we're doing this, and two, we're open to their feedback if they want it. Open Space Committee and we both had comments of how the DPW street tree policy could be improved, because the tree species that they've listed, literally one lists a Norway maple, so don't do that. So, yeah, I would definitely be keeping the other tree and parks and open space people in the loop about this. And this would just be limited to trees within our wetlands jurisdiction. So this isn't a policy for all around town. Like, I would never survive if that were the case, with how many requests I would get. Yeah, so this is only trees within wetlands jurisdiction, nothing outside of that.
Tree City, it would be good for us to even.
We have to renew that. Yeah.
It'd be good to add to our resume as a arbor city.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't renewed it, so we're not currently on the Tree City list right now, but we did have it in 2020 through, I believe, 2022. I don't know if we missed it for 2023, but we need to get back on there. And that's actually a part of my grant, that UCF tree grant. I need to renew the town. I mean, I don't know who did it. I've already asked a few times and no one's gotten back to me, because there's an account you have to log in on. And I'm like, hey, doing it.
Peter Pescator from the old chair. I didn't know I didn't think you had to renew it, but you could always upgrade it or something.
You technically do have to renew to a certain point. Like, I think you have to resubmit or something. Like, I don't know if you have to pay for it or if you just have to put in the paperwork, but yeah, sadly Cohasset dropped the ball and we're not currently listed as a tree city right now, unless they just did it. I don't know if they just renewed it, but
I don't think so.
um,
Maybe.
yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
No? Okay. I'll look at it.
D, I think maybe D was working on it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know who has access to the town's information on the Tree City website.
Check with her.
Okay. But I guess, does anybody else have anything that maybe I'm missing in here? Do you guys think there's anything else that I should consider? I'm definitely, like I said, gonna split this up and make it simpler and easier to read, but are there any other topics that I haven't covered? Like any definitions that you guys think I should add or not add, or?
I think you're gonna see a lot of like emerald ash borer trees and like
Yeah,
the mere presence of I mean, yeah, the tree's probably gonna die, but when it's early on, I think getting a standard, like there's no stopping the spread by cutting it down at you know, so it's like, you know, is it worth just cutting it down because of that? Is
yeah.
maybe some difference of opinions from folks out there about how to manage that, but
There definitely, there's a lot of different opinions because there's so many diseases that are hitting our native trees right now. There are forestry techniques of how to, thin things out and take out disease specimens, and it's a whole forestry management strategy. But I know professionals definitely differ in opinion of, do you cut down every ash tree in the area, or do you, I don't know. I mean,
no, because they're still banking seeds, you know, so it's like
exactly.
if
Yeah.
the ash borer kind of like goes through and is like a wave and then kind of stabilizes, maybe then the seed bank will.
Mm-hmm.
I have ashling saplings all over in my woods where the dead ash were,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know.
Yeah, did we want to include something about maybe not necessarily hazard, but diseased?
Yeah, I mean, you can maybe just like put a line in there that like mere presence of insects isn't not necessitate like does not mean it's infested. Like it has to be damage. Like the infestation has to be causing like structural damage, and I think that's kind of captured in there. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, if like a tree's cored out from carpenter ants and it's hollow, that's one thing. But if it's sick because
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no, I get what you.
the ash trees, like they maintain their core. They die because of their bark is basically sheared off, and then they stand like they're solid wood still.
Yeah, I can add something about that to kind of clarify.
I mean,
I
you
might
can do
add
it. You don't have to go too far in the weeds, and you think it can be kind of something just to keep in
Yeah.
mind. Doesn't have
Okay.
to.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think I can add something like that either to the hazard tree definition or the like hazard versus risk, obviously, like maybe put it in here, like for, again, like, yeah, disease doesn't necessarily mean it's a hazard. It could just be a risk, and then
Yeah.
you can treat it. Yeah, actually, maybe I'll put it in there. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. And I think in terms of editing, what I'm going to do is I will send you guys another email. I'm hoping within the next few weeks. I don't know if I can get this on for 12/5. We have 3 new hearings, an enforcement, and the one the enforcement, and then the other one we just continued for 45 Little Harbor. So do you guys want to take the time maybe after our 12/5 meeting, like when we don't have a meeting for like a month, do you guys want to look at this more and not tack it on to our next agenda and maybe put it on for January, if you guys are okay with that? And then that'll give me more time to finalize it, and then you guys can have more time to read it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, so I guess for now, if you guys have any thoughts in those questions that I sent in the email, if you guys just want to answer the email, great. But if you want to hold off on looking at this until I've made it much better looking and easier to read without all my notes and stuff, I will let you guys know when I've finalized it. I'm going to try to do it within maybe after the 12/5 meeting. I'd like to have it done, you know, so that I can send it to you guys and you guys have at least a couple weeks or a month even to look at it. So yeah,
That sounds good.
that'll be your homework for the holidays. That'll be your homework since we don't have meetings until January 9th. Okay.
But
Yeah, we canceled 12/19. I figured that was just easier for all of us because travel plans, it's the Thursday before Christmas and Hanukkah, so, and Kwanzaa, if anyone celebrates that. So, okay, cool.
several sections to fill out, right?
What's up?
I said you still have several sections there at the end.
I do. Yes, as you can see, I was struggling to get you guys something for tonight, but I just wanted to type it all out as best I could. And then I like typing everything up first and then I cut it down. So I like getting everything out there. I copy paste and reference and paraphrase and then type my own stuff and then I put it all up. So, yeah. Okay, great.
Good work.
You guys want to move on to my updates?
Sure.
All right, one sec. Can I just pull up the agenda? I'm just gonna read them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yeah, the COC was continued to 12/5. Still need more time on the as-built. So 74 Forest Ave, that was a horse barn project, only partially within the 100. They're pretty much done with the barn. They had to do some minor grading changes outside of the 100-foot buffer to stabilize the slope a little bit more, but they're actively working on that. They should be done soon. 145 Beach Street is pretty much done. This was mostly a landscaping project. Looking back, this probably could have been an RDA, but it was like redoing like walkways and patios around an existing pool with plantings. I did go out and look at all the plantings. I asked for like a full plant list to just be submitted in writing with the as-built or added to the as-built, whatever's easier. So they're probably going to file for a COC soon. 498 Beechwood Street, if you guys have seen it, this is that tiny little bungalow home that's near Miss Meckler's, where you guys get the candy in the shed. If you guys haven't been there, it's awesome. Yeah. So 498 Beechwood, this was, they had to do a mounded septic system in the front yard. So they're working on that right now. They originally did not have an erosion control barrier in, so I made sure they put one of those in right before it started raining. And I don't know when they're going to work on the house. I feel like they're going to put the septic in and they may or may not even try to sell it to another person. And I don't know how that's going to work, but that may or may not be what happens. And then Valerio actually saw me doing this because his office is right near Elm Street. But the sewer lining project that we had looked at through an RDA, where the town's going to be, sleeving in protective sealant covers, within the existing sewer lines, but, along James Brook. So that is going to get started probably in January. We went out to the site with all of the Woodard and Karan team, who will be doing the work. We looked at several of the catch basins. They wanted to open them up and kind of check and see what the situation was. And so they will be doing that work in January. They will also be notifying abutters because that whole area along, Elm, South Main, in Border Street, obviously lots of people asking questions. The town has sewer easements through all those properties. So probably good to give people a heads up that they're going to be going there. So that's going to start in January. And then as we kind of mentioned tonight with other updates, we're probably hopefully going to be more involved in conservation restrictions moving forward. I will do my best with the town to emphasize that. I've already brought it up a few times with town manager and a few other people. It is something that we've always supposed to be doing, and I'm not blaming us at all. I think it's just lack of resources. Towns just hasn't been involved. The only time the town's involved is when legal counsel is working on the actual document. So conservation has not been involved to my knowledge about reviewing these documents, and we should be. It's like technically our third responsibility under our legal acts of jurisdiction. So, and then the good thing about conservation restrictions, as you guys saw tonight, they do not need public hearings. They can just be public discussions. And so that's a good thing. So less work for us there. But it still has to be discussed publicly and voted on. And we don't need to give like huge heads up in the newspapers and stuff. But the CR restrictions, as I mentioned, they're all really done through a template that's already been designed and approved by the state. So you're using that template almost essentially every single time. It's highly recommended. You don't necessarily have to, but it's just obviously best if you do. And then they modify it each time. So you will start to see a lot of that similar language the more we look at CRs. And just a quick update without giving the addresses, because it's still very not public, but CCT is definitely working with certain people around town to do more CRs. So not just the area on King Street that you guys saw tonight. There are other people who are interested in town about conservation restrictions, and they're in the works. And I know they take years to develop, but it's just nice that people have that mindset. And then also, if I can, I would love to eventually put a lot of resources about them on our website, and even maybe notify people or do presentations or something on them when I know more about them. Because there are people who've asked me about that, especially with lowering their taxes in certain ways, which can be beneficial through a CR. Depends on how you do it and when you submit it. So yeah. And then with violations, I'm a little bit behind. And since we canceled our last meeting of the year, I will probably be the violations I've already talked to you guys about within the last month or plus. I'm probably going to tack them on in January and February once we've finalized our meeting schedule, which was my next update. So I think in terms of the consensus, it was kind of split of, do we want to have a meeting on February 20th or February 27th? If you have it on the 27th, you'll be back to back with March 6th, because that's really the only way I could work it out to make sure it didn't interfere with any other holidays or school breaks. But if you guys want to keep it on the 20th, and maybe just a few of you won't be able to call in because you might be, somewhere on vacation with your families, I'm good either way. So as long as we have a quorum, I don't care which date we choose. So this is the what I sent. Let me just pull it up briefly. But this is really the only date to keep, just so you guys are aware, we've been doing 2 meetings a month. So we're not doing bi-weekly anymore. For the last 2 years, we've been trying to do just 2 meetings a month to give the commission a little bit of a break for those longer months. So yeah, January 9th, 23rd. And then if we did bi-weekly, like giving us a break between this and March 6th, it would be February 20th, but it would just be during school break. So I think, Sanji, you said the 20th did not work for you. And I think Chris, did you say this date wouldn't work for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be away.
The
Okay.
20th won't work for me either.
The 20th or the 27th?
27th, I will be back at the day before, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if did I say the 20th? I'm just looking at our calendar. I think I'm good
Yeah,
on
I
the
can't,
20th.
sorry, I'm forgetting who said they could not do the 20th. I think Sanji, I think you said you couldn't, but I'm sorry
I
if
said
I'm
it. It was me.
Chris. Okay. And Valerio too, because Valerio has kids in the school system. So Chris and Valerio would both be out, which means that one of you guys would have to be chair on the 20th. So if you guys want to keep the 27th instead, just know that 2 of our meetings would be back to back. But other than that, the schedule evens out for the rest of the year. So as long as you guys are okay with 2 back-to-back meetings, I can finalize this if you don't want to do the 20th. I'd rather not do the 20th and not have a quorum,
Right.
Yeah, every other date works out with just spacing it out with, obviously every other week, and sometimes every, if there's a longer month. Yeah. And then I made sure not to put it closer to Christmas, so it's a week before Christmas. Hopefully that is okay with everybody. And then I asterisked 2 dates, obviously, to make sure that people aren't submitting things on Thanksgiving, which is pretty standard, or Christmas Eve. But I guess it's sounding like everyone's okay with the 27th, as long as you guys don't mind back-to-back meetings.
It's good.
Yeah. Okay. And then this goes to one of our questions. July is one of our lowest attendances. Like we've had to, I think not last year, but the year before, we had to cancel both meetings in July because we didn't have a quorum. So I guess in terms of when you guys have, travel plans in the summer, do we want 1 meeting in July, 2 meetings in July? We could also just keep it on the agenda and cancel it if we have to. which I'm fine with doing, but I didn't know what you guys were thinking in terms of July, which tends to be our lowest attendance. That was the only other question I had for you guys. Other than that,
Sorry, what are the columns?
I'm sorry, these are the meeting dates. Sorry, these are the meeting dates.
Those are alternates.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the meeting date. This is the
Oh, all
16th
right.
day
Sorry,
deadline.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So it's the far left column. I was gonna say, do we want any meetings in July?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to build up everything till
True.
August. We can.
Okay.
July.
Yeah, we can always, I mean, it's obviously, I'm not expecting you guys to know your schedule for a full year. So, I mean, if we can't have the meetings, we can't have the meetings, we have to cancel them. But just, you know, it was a thought about between Kathy and myself, if we wanted to do one meeting in July, no meetings, just because we've had bad accrual.
Do it one.
Bad accrual.
I would
Attendance.
try to do at least one,
At least one. Okay.
so it
You guys
doesn't.
wanna just keep it then, and just if I need to cancel, I will. This is the week after the 4th of July, so sometimes people take that week off.
Yeah.
And then this one hopefully shouldn't be as much of a problem unless, you know, yeah. But we can figure it out if you want to just keep it on here and then, you know. But that was pretty much it. So I guess sounds like 27th is in.
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
Works for
Cool.
me.
I will finalize that then. Yay. And then
Thank
the
you.
last thing was just the fee schedule. So the fee schedule I have been meaning to update for a year and I haven't been able to do it yet. But what I would like to do is timing with the tree policy. I do want to update the fee schedule because we have been charging definitely not enough. And our fee schedule hasn't been updated since 2016. So we're coming up on 10 years. So when we finalize our tree policy, I will add the or the administrative fees to the fee schedule. I will update the costs of our permits, except I'll keep the RDAs and the simple stuff maybe the same just to encourage people to apply. But then I will increase the cost of pretty much all stormwater permits. And yeah, building permits, you should see how much they charge. They charge thousands of dollars, tens of thousands.
Well, as I said before, we should look at our last fees and use the consumer
CPI.
price index to
Yeah.
at least escalate it so we're getting the same amount we did when that first was decided. And
Yeah.
maybe at that point, we should decide whether we should ask for even more.
Yep. Also, this is a grave mistake on the fee schedule, and I apologize. I did not notice it for 3 years since I've been here. We are supposed to be charging $100 for every time someone submits a variance. Yep. That has never been done.
Let's get that money.
Yeah, we kind of need that. The problem is in the fee schedule breakdown, I can double check, but I don't believe the variance category is on there. So I think that was the crucial mistake. It says it earlier in the fee schedule, but it doesn't in the table that everybody uses to calculate their NOI fees. So yeah, we're going to change that for 2025. People are going to hate me, but I don't care. Because you guys have seen how many times we issue a variance. Like, let's charge people for it. We should have been doing it this whole time. So yeah, just found that out after 3 years. But I don't think Angela or my predecessors had been charging for it either. So, I mean, it's never been in the fee schedule breakdown. So I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much, I think that was it for my updates. Unless anybody has 48 hours. No?
No.
No.
Okay. I did get something from Will. That was my only 48-hour update. Will Ashton, obviously. Something on 39, hold on, Riverview. Apparently there's been a lot of encroachment with lawn, into the either buffer zone or possibly even the wetland. But Will said he was driving by. It's 39 Riverview. Oh, I'm sorry. He was messing around with Google Earth. It appeals that 39 Riverview has removed a ton of trees and installed lawn within the riverfront. And then he sent me some aerials from 2021 through 2024 to see the progression. So
Sounds like he misses being on the commission.
I think it sounds like he wants to come back. Yeah.
Charlotte, what's the address?
39 Riverview probably is it Riverview Drive? I'm not sure. He just said 39 Riverview.
Say,
Can you pull it up?
Drive, yeah.
I can pull it up. Yep.
Yeah, Riverview Drive.
Put it on your map.
Yeah.
So this
And he said
is,
there's an encroachment there?
he said they've been cutting down trees and expanding lawn, and Aaron River's right here. So let me go back a little bit and just see what, oh, okay.
Wait a minute. Why are that's not the house I'm looking at. 39 Riverview, right? Oh, I've got Riverview Place. What's the
Drive.
drive? Okay. I see.
So I don't know what, I mean, I can look at this more, but Will did send me aerials that look pretty convincing. I mean, I can look at, oh, yep, there we go. There we go. So yeah, 2023 versus July. Looks like he did cut back stuff and put in a lawn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yep, there we go. Yikes. Okay. So enforcement orders, show cause, all the above. Just show cause hearing.
Well, what's,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we need to have them in front of us. I don't know what we don't have. I mean, with just this and it being slightly beyond our 2 years, I think we need.
Well, I think for this part, between April 2023 and July, that's still within our 2 years.
Yeah, I think we just. I don't think we go enforcement yet, just because see if they'll
Okay.
play. You
Okay,
know,
so just send him a show cause notice.
what I mean, what does everyone else think? That's
Well, if we're coming close to the limit here, does the show cause keep us on the clock, or could it slip through our fingers here?
You know,
Yeah,
I think it does because it's an enforcement action under not just the Wetlands Protection Act, but our bylaw. And we just can't drop the ball for 2 years, you know? So yeah, I think it'd be okay, especially if I put him in for a show cause in January. And then if the person
that
either,
go back to that like grading. That was like that was like the year they graded it. It was all
oh
like
wait, this year? Yeah, whatever this
no,
is.
yeah, no. Then when it's all like the same color, like soil and loam.
Wait, sorry, go back or go forward?
Oh, forward, I guess, to where it's like all like right,
Oh,
yeah,
like that. Yeah. That's October.
that's like prep
Mm-hmm.
for
And then put in
seed.
the lawn by April. Yeah.
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 Okay. Has anybody else been doing this? Dang. Hold on. Not that I want to know the answer to that.
Well, it's a good thing to stop them because if neighbor at 40 and 38, oh, look what
Yeah.
what 39 did. I want that lawn.
Where? 39.
Well, no,
For
that's
example.
Oh yeah, yeah. Look at this. Look at the difference. Yeah. Like everyone's been living in harmony with their little nature backgrounds, and then this guy's like, nah. So yeah, no, not okay.
yeah, good one,
Yeah,
Will.
this is, I mean, this is Aaron River. It's like that's pretty sensitive. You know, it's not like he did it up here. You know, he
Yeah.
did it right here along the river. So
Yeah. Well, he's working in the resource here.
he is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yep, as you can see from 2 years ago, I know this is over our 2-year boundary, but you can see what it used to look like.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a new person. That's always my suspicion, or if it's just a guy who just, or woman, sorry, who got fed up and just decided to do it. But yeah, very clearly between April and April, within the last 2 years, he or she, sorry, clearly significantly altered the resource area with cutting out the trees and putting in lawn.
Oh.
Well, if it's a
We,
new person, we didn't give them the educational pamphlet about what they can and cannot do.
which we don't have because I haven't done it or sent it out to
I
every
don't know,
resident.
because that's ridiculous. If you got a pamphlet for everything that you can and can't
I
do.
know. It's like I want to educate residents, but also like, can y'all just Google things? You know, this is where our AI platform, Sanju, would also be really helpful. Because I think if people want to know the rules, they're gonna research it on their own. But if people don't care about the rules, then they're not gonna look it up and they're not gonna care if I send them a pamphlet or not.
Yeah.
So-
But also, sorry,
No, go ahead, Kathy.
I'm just gonna say, but also, they might not even be aware that there are rules about
True.
taking down trees in their yard.
True. This one, I'm finding it a little hard to believe when you live near Erin River, when there's a reservoir and there's all this conservation property. Like, I don't even know. Not that I want to play lawyer, but I'd almost be curious to look at what their deeds say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, for somebody who lives so close to a river, maybe you're right, Kathy. Maybe he or she really didn't know, but it's like, this is just such a sensitive area and everyone in Cohasset should hopefully know that. But for people who don't, cool. Maybe that's why the show cause is appropriate. You give them the benefit of the doubt, but I still think it's taking enforcement action. I can put a cease and desist on the site. So that's also an enforcement action. So we can act within the 2 years.
Yeah, here's another one.
Which one?
Let me see if I can figure out what the address is here from near map. View. Oh, shit.
This is why I don't actively look at Nearmap unless I'm looking at a specific property because I'm going to find a billion violations.
Hang on, I'll give you the address, but they did the same thing.
I can plug it in if you want to look at it.
497 Beechwood.
497.
Yep, their backyard. They decided their lawn wasn't big enough.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, this is why I hate Nearmap because then I see I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, it looks like they did it in 2020, before August of 2021. So they're long past.
Oh, no.
They did
Yeah.
it between April and August of 2021. You see that little tin roof shed there in April of 2021, and the grass behind it is native grass.
Yeah. Also, without town council on the phone, I mean, obviously they're going to tell us not to pursue it since we've also been publicly informed of the 2-year stupid
Yeah,
thing.
I mean,
But I've talked to other agents around Massachusetts and they had never heard of that statute of limitations. And they're like, we've pursued violations within 5+ years and no one's fought it. But this is Cohasset and people are lawyers or they're quick to lawyer up. So if we want to push our luck, let me know. But since we, have already seen what happens when you hire lawyers of doing their little homework, saying statute of limitations in front of our faces. Yeah. So it's up to you guys if we want to risk it because other towns have clearly done
we
it.
can send out warning letters.
Yeah.
Don't do it again.
Yeah, that's true. I could do a warning for 497 potentially.
Yeah.
I wonder who owns this. I think not that I want to threaten people, but maybe make it aware that aerial imagery is accessible.
Right.
Not that I want to threaten people. I don't want to immediately come off on the wrong foot, but
Some of them are learning the hard way.
yeah.
It looks like they built that shed in the buffer too.
Yeah. So this is why I stay off a Nearmap.
Yeah.
But since Will brought it to my attention, it's, write him a letter and send in a show cause with a cease and desist. I mean, that's our standard MO for now. So, alrighty, that was all I had for you guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Nice job. Shorter
Yeah.
meeting. 9:30 is great.
It is.
Nice
Thank
job
you
with
for all
tree
your work,
policy.
Charlotte.
Yeah, thank you.
you.
Sorry the tree stuff was rushed, but I will touch that up. I'll resend it to you guys and I'll give you guys hopefully homework over the holidays. So
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
All right, see you later.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Have a wonderful
Happy
night.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yes, to you and all
Oh,
your
I'm so
families.
sorry. Valerio hurt himself. That's why he could not be chair. He had to get surgery today.
Ouch.
Oh dear.
Took a pretty nasty fall. And he cracked ribs, wrist, shoulder. Not good.
Fall off a
So-
ladder?
Poor guy.
It seems like he was actually, you know what? I can't remember exactly. It wasn't falling off stairs or anything like that. It wasn't falling off a ladder. I think he literally just fell. But yeah, so he had been trying to tough it out with a brace. And unfortunately the doctors were like, it was really painful for him to be chair. You know, and that's why he asked Tom. That's why, because he was really hurt. And so yeah, as of today, he needed surgery. So he said
Oh,
he said he can chair the next meeting, but he might be in a lot of pain. So yeah, hope he's okay. I didn't know if you guys wanted to. I'm sorry we didn't do this for Angela because we did something internally with the town, but I don't know if you guys want to send Valerio anything. I mean, up to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I've been really bad with trying to be better with like when Chris McFarland and Jay and Eric all left and Trish, I didn't send them anything. I mean, we sent them the cards, but it would have been nice. I mean, I didn't have time, but I think if we came up with like a cute little gift every time somebody leaves or if someone's hurt or injured, I don't know. I'm happy just sending flowers. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want. If you want to do nothing, just send a card. Let me know. If you guys are already coming to town hall to sign the conservation restriction, maybe a get well card. I don't know.
sure.
Be nice.
I'll help you.
Okay. I know where his legal office is too. It's literally right in town near the historical society, like on what's that, like Brook Street, like that intersection?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
he
it was on Elm
works
Street.
right there.
I thought it was on Elm Street.
Well, it's off of Elm, like whatever that little side road is where you cut
Yeah,
through
yeah,
to South Main. Yeah, he's like right there. He knocked
Mail
on
place.
when I was walking around for the sewer project. So yeah, he works right there. So we could either send flowers and a card, just a card. What are you guys feeling?
A card.
Okay, cool. All right, I will get a card, and when the CR is finalized, you guys can come in and sign both things.
Nice.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All righty. All right. Sorry, that was my
Thank
last
you.
thing. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Thanks,
Motion,
Charlotte.
Take
Good
care.
night,
to
everyone.
adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Oh yeah,
All
that's
in
right.
favor,
Sorry.
Say aye.
And I.
Aye. All right.
There we go.
All right, it's official.
There we go. Now it's official. Bye, guys.